It says I talked a little bit.
All right, let's bring this Pueblo West Metropolitan District work session of December 5th, 2025 to order. Roll call, Bree.
Good morning, President Vickers and members of board. Bree Mignoni, District Clerk. Director Pasternak.
Here.
Director Potter.
Here.
Director Roberts.
Present.
Vice President Axworthy.
Here.
And President Vickers.
Present.
Everyone is present.
All right, let's do approval of agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda as written. A second.
I have a motion to approve the agenda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Pledge of Allegiance. Chris, could you lead us in the pledge, please?
Sure.
Pledge of allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Christian, you want to take it from here? Did you want to take it from here?
It's all you.
Just follow this?
Yeah, regular meeting,
Okay,
essentially
regular
now.
meeting. Okay, introduction of new employees by Jessica Pankey, our Human Resources Director.
Good evening. Good evening. I'm so used to night meetings. Good morning, President Vickers and fellow members of the board. I am here to introduce new employees. I was able to get 2 here and 1 I could not. And I think she's working on the picture. So we'll start with one that's here. Mary, if you will join me up here. All right. So coming on up, we have Miss Mary Porter. She was hired on November 17th as a covenant specialist. She obtained her high school diploma from East High School and most recently worked for the law firm of William J. Ballas. And Mary brings a wealth of knowledge as she worked for MCO Properties for about 8 years back in the day before it left Pueblo West. So we're very excited to bring her onto the team and all of that knowledge that she brings with her. Would you like to say anything? Hi.
Welcome aboard.
Yes, glad to have you.
Good morning, welcome aboard. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right. Up on the screen for you, this was the one I was not able to get here. His name is Matthew Carlson. He was hired as a parts maintenance tech on November 3rd. He obtained his high school diploma from Centennial High School. And Matthew worked through us through the seasonal, through the summer with our team. And we were able to hire him on full time, so we're excited to bring him on. Before working as a seasonal with us over the summer, he was a maintenance worker for Budget Store and Lock Self Storage. So very excited to have him part of the Parks team. I hear he's doing a great job. And our third one is here, Mr. Sam Hopper. Come on up. And he was hired on November 17th as our chief plant operator for the wastewater plant. Sam holds a master's degree in business administration from Western Governors University. And most recently, he worked as an operator too for the town of Flower Mound, Texas. So very excited to bring him not only to Colorado, but to the district. So would you like to say anything?
I'm excited to be here. I really like Colorado a whole lot, so I'm excited for this opportunity.
Good deal.
How do you like the snow?
Well, I lived in New Mexico prior to Texas, and I grew up in Michigan. So I'm not afraid
Oh,
of-
Michigan. yeah.
Perfect.
You know how to drive anything.
Welcome.
We expect you to work every day.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Next, we have public comments. Do you have any?
There are no public comments.
Director's comments. We'll do it now or later?
No, I'll do it now. I'll do it now. So I have actually a lengthy director's comment, so my apologies for that. So my comment has to do with the employee survey that was presented to us on the compensation rubric. So the entire board was presented with the employee survey results regarding the Metro's compensation ratio rubric. There were several negative comments regarding the board's involvement in the pay strategy, which directly impacts the budget for the district. But before I get into that, I want to take a look at the budget information that has been presented to the board. So 2024 personal expenses were over 13.5 million. 2025 personnel expenses were over 15.2 million. 2026 personnel expenses were budgeted at over 16.9 million. 2026 salary expenses, not including taxes and benefits, is over $12.2 million. Of that, over $3.9 million, $3.9 million more was budgeted than what is expected to be spent in 2025, which equals over $26,000 more in salaries per employee on average. After questioning that data, we were shown that over $2.4 million remains in the budget for 2025 compared to expected salary expenses. And again, that's just salaries, which would equal to more than $16,000 per employee if you look at that difference. Again, on average. So what we proposed in the last meeting is that we maintain the 2025 personnel expense budget for the 2026 budget year. This should grant opportunities for salary and benefit increases for every employee in 2026 beyond the COLA increase. We're not trying to rob you, we're trying to keep the district accountable. Moreover, there seems to be some disconnect between employees thinking that we want to get rid of the CR rubric and go to a merit-based increase or pay increase system, which we know doesn't work for several reasons, versus what the board actually discussed the other day, which would be to include merit or performance criteria into the CR rubric. Your work performance has value, and your service to the community has value, especially when it's done well. And this is a great way to express that. So a hybrid model that incorporates merit and performance evaluations within the structure of the CRR will provide the opportunity for pay increases for a job well done, rather just additional training or longevity. Utilizing paid training or certifications, longevity, or promotion as the sole limiting tools to move beyond the mid-range salary is not beneficial for every employee. Instead, evaluation criteria would be infused within the scoring mechanism of the CR rubric. So I understand the history and need for the CRR mechanism. Christian and I discussed it at length over several meetings before its integration last year. The CRR was needed to increase pay rates so the Metro District could become competitive in their pay scales to reward and retain staff. However, I think there are gaps that need refined, and some of your fellow employees feel the same way. Some staff feel that it's frustrating to see their coworkers get approved for pay training, receive higher wages, and then not work any harder or perform any better than those who work hard every day without the opportunity or ability to pursue those same pay increases. Furthermore, some of those employees may also be covering the duties of those getting time to pursue those trainings and certifications. Some employees even mentioned being denied the opportunity for additional training or simply not having time outside of their regular duties to pursue them. Others still have stated that the number of certifications and job-related trainings are not balanced between departments, allowing some departments to offer more opportunities for pay increases than other departments. So my question is, where's the equity in that? So I agree that a solely merit-based system of pay increase and justification is flawed and dangerous. The CR rubric is quantifiable in nature and driven by clear-cut data without emotion or bias. However, the board is suggesting that it also include a qualitative measurement to round out its equity and inclusiveness amongst all Metro staff. That's it.
Ryan, thank you for those comments. Appreciate that.
Chris? Well, seeing we have this on the agenda, I suppose I'll save my comments for them in general. Can you send those notes to us, Brian?
What's that?
Can you send those notes to us? What you
My
just read
comments?
off? Yeah, your comments.
Yeah, I can.
Okay.
I didn't save it anywhere, but I can retype it and email it, sure.
Well, no, you can
Scan and email
I'll
it,
scan
Scan it, yeah. Okay,
I'll put it out there.
that's my comment, thanks.
And Matt's gonna do that for you right now.
Matt's going to do that right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. So is that
That's my comment.
that's, okay. Mr. Potter?
I'm good for right now, thank you.
I want to piggyback off of Brian's comments there. The employees of the district need to understand that we can make most of the people happy most of the time, but we're never going to make everybody happy all the time. I truly understand the training opportunities being fair and equitable across the board. This board, at the last meeting, did agree to look into the hybrid system, which includes a merit-based promotion verbiage that would hopefully impact the employees positively. Therefore, those that are deserving of a pay increase will get recognized with that, and those that are not will not. At this point, to me, with the hybrid system put in place, it would make it as fair as possible to each individual employee going into the future. But without the research and opportunity to do that here and now, I feel that the decisions that have been made from the last meeting are fair and equitable. So with that being said, Brian, I appreciate your comments on all that. Thank you.
And I'll wait until the discussion on the rubric. So, moving forward. Oh, I'm sorry.
Weighing on how to say. I do want to just share, I don't know if any decisions have been made at the last meeting. Nothing had been on the agenda as far as a action item for it.
Yeah.
I think to say, maybe to clarify, is that I think there was consensus amongst the board to talk about what a hybrid system would look like.
Right,
Get
to
back
move
and
forward,
discuss, but
looking into it.
Just want to clarify.
Correct, the direction. Yeah, we have not made any official decisions on any changes at this
Right.
point. Thank you. Thank you, Christian. Discussion items. Procurement. Let me try it again. Procurement policy revisions.
Good morning, President Vickers and fellow board members. Michael Winters, Procurement Manager. Today we have recommended changes to the procurement policy. I also provided a little 2-page summary outlining the changes in each section, just for easier reference. These changes reflect the need for the purchase of goods and services to be more efficient, as well as updated language throughout the policy. And then from here, I mean, we can open up to questions, or if you want to go through the summary and touch on all of it, or just certain ones that you guys are interested in.
So I know the purchase thresholds have been updated by the feds or state. I can't remember which. Probably both. So I'm assuming a lot of the changes are based on that.
Yeah, and we can start there with the limits. That's probably the major change, I would say, throughout the policy. We're recommending an increase in the small purchase limit, or the purchase order limit, up to 10,000. It's currently 3,500. The 10,000 matches the federal acquisition regulation limit for small purchases.
That's the micro purchase, right?
Yeah. So increase from 3,500 up to 10,000. Second increase would be the formal bidding limit. It's currently 30,000. We're asking for an increase up to 50,000, and that matches with what I believe currently the state still mandates getting bonds. So we'd like to match those two up at the same limit there. Another increase in limit is our contract requirement limit. It's currently 10,000. Being that we're moving everything else up, we'd like to increase that contract requirement up to 25,000. So those are increases in our formal bidding limits and purchase order limits. There are some other increases as far as staff delegation. Let's see here.
The employee approvals? Is that
Yes,
about-
sorry. Yeah, employee approval and authorization schedule. So let's be section 2.6. We're there. It says department directors, district manager, deputy district managers, department directors may authorize purchases for the department up to what was 3,500 without a purchase order. If we're going to move the 3,500 up, we would move that up to 10,000 as well. So those both match. Same with deputy district managers and department directors. They could approve up to 30,000, which matched our formal bidding limit. If we're going to increase our formal bidding limit, we would increase their authority to match that as well. I think matching the limits makes it better ease or it's easier to understand and more efficient for staff instead of having limits that are kind of all over the place. And then we would increase just the district manager, who could approve up to 60,000, increase that authority up to 100,000.
So my only questions on some of the larger figures is, what do we have in terms of a standard operating procedure for notification within the district? Like if a deputy wanted to buy something for $49,000, do they have to let the district manager know? Similarly, if Christian, if you wanted to buy something for $99,000, do you would it be prudent to let the board know, say, hey, I'm buying this? And not to say that I don't trust the folks that work here, but we have to look long term, who's going to be in those positions 50 years from now.
Yeah, so for currently anything over 3,500 needs a purchase order. So in your example, for a $49,000 purchase, no matter who it is, we have a system called web purchasing. So they would put they would put either their quotes, whatever documentation, to get that purchase order, and there'd be multiple people to look at it. At that level right now, I think, pretty sure Christian, say it's in the utilities department, it'd be director of utilities, possibly even the district manager, a finance director, and then myself at the end.
Okay.
So you'd
so
have
there's a PO approval process.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Gotcha. All right. That's all I needed.
To add to that, there is also, I think the board receives a cash requirements report that is of anything over 25,000.
Yeah. It's in the AP reports.
Yeah, so you
Okay.
do have access, or at least see those purchases that occur as far as a notification process.
But that's after the fact. We
No.
get that report after the fact.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is that.
Okay. Just want to make sure checks and balances. Thank you.
That was the only thing that I was concerned of. It was the big jump in, or do we routinely come across things that approach those thresholds?
Yeah.
Okay.
If I may, there's somebody, at least in the crowd, who's probably very happy because when 3,500 was the small purchase one, that's almost everything we've done in the district.
Oh, right.
So crossing that was pretty challenging. So seeing a lot of those thresholds balanced to where we see whether county, state, or federal have been helpful.
So the 35 is going to 10, right?
Correct.
The 50 is above, what,
Yeah, 30 to 50.
30 to 50.
Yeah.
So differentiate between those two. What's the split?
So that's the formal bidding limit. So over 30,000, we do an IFB. So those construction contracts, they're over 30,000. So we'd be increasing that limit up to 50,000. And if you're maybe wondering why we chose 50,000, the state mandates that we get bonds. So to have proper controls, I think it's best to match the formal bidding limit with bonds, because then there's oversight. Procurement would have oversight to make sure we get the bonds and insurance.
want to talk through the very special case?
About the,
Very special.
The requests for bids and how things are approved through the budget process?
yeah, I'll try, unless you want to take a stab at it,
I
but
can if you like.
go ahead, yeah.
So,
Where is that in here? What-
2.6.
2.6. So there's kind of going through a little bit of the history of the district's budgeting and procurement processes for it. Whether it was done through the budget process, whether we're talking about committees doing RFPs, there's a lot of areas where this has been connected, this part of the conversation. Oftentimes, we say, especially with capital projects, we go through a budget process that gets approved separately. Let's say there's a $100,000 park or a shed, or there's a $2 million project here. There's the expectation that as we presented those to the board would be approving those. There'd be a dollar threshold associated with it. We knew, and going back in history, Fire Station, let's say 2, was budgeted at $5 million. And we knew that after the board approved that budget, going through a process, we would start being able to put out for RFP, design, there'd be certain things that would establish, here's what the cost of that project is, and we knew we had a budget to operate under. The challenge sometimes became that if the procurement policy read as it did previously, it was that these thresholds demark what to do when the board hasn't budgeted for it. So a new project or a new requirement comes up, and now it's a question of, it's $60,000. Does that need to go to the board? Well, in the old system, when $60,000, absolutely, that makes sense. But if it was $15,000, the thought was that the delegation of authority allowed those things to be approved outside of having to bring it back to the board, so long as they met those thresholds and they weren't exceeding those thresholds. But the language of the procurement policy, and specifically what happened, I believe, with the Aquatic Center Committee, when a committee put out an RFP and it didn't necessarily go through the board, there was an adjustment of language, and then there was also an adjustment of threshold, which caused a little bit of funniness. One of them was I had an approval of $60,000. However, because that resolution with that committee and the Aquatic Center happened, anything that was an RFP had to be approved by the board, which was anything above $30,000. So I really didn't, unless for some reason we didn't go out for an RFP, I really didn't have approval authority in that section. It was very strange. This is correcting that. So I think there's no issue of that. The thresholds do match. We shouldn't run into those situations. But when we talk about things that are over the threshold, the things that the board has approved and budgeted for, and let's say they're 101,000 or 100,000 over, the question is, do they still go back to the board? If the thought is to be able to say a budget was approved for this amount for a fire station or $100,000, $200,000 shed, whatever it might be, and it's going through that process and meets that budget, in theory, the board's already approved the budget, it's in that budget threshold, it should be able to move forward without having to come back to the board. But technically, now that we have the capital project listed without their actual figures, there's no public document approving what those thresholds are. So it's going to revert back to what it was, which is anything over 100,000, regardless of if the board technically had approved it or not, has to come back to the board. And I want to confirm with the board, is that the intent, or were we trying to make it so that once the board has approved projects and thoughts of the cost associated with the project, that it could move forward without board approval, further board approval, so long as it met those thresholds?
So let me throw out an example, just to help
go for
make
it.
sense of all of that. So if we approved a project for $5 million, and it came in at $5,099,000,
Comes back.
you can approve it because that's the $100,000 threshold? No.
No.
So if it's over, it
you
still
have-
has to come back?
Yes. If it came in at $4,999,999, based on the system, because we don't have a board document that approves that, because it's over 100,000 total, we have to come back.
Okay. Okay.
So a question for the board before we finalize the document for this is there any because right now what essentially happens is anything over 100,000 has to come back regardless of if it had been approved before.
If it's been approved in the budget.
But we don't have a document showing that for capital projects anymore. It's a challenge.
We'll catch it on the report.
So
And then you'll be held accountable.
fair enough. So if a project, previously in our budgets, we had the capital project list with project A cost 100,000, project B 200,000.
Gotcha. Yeah.
That is the board, once they approve the budget, approving those costs with those projects.
Now we just approve totals.
Now we just approve totals, which means I don't have any document saying that project A was 100,000 anymore. So if it's over that threshold, it has to come back to the board because I don't have a document
Bless you.
showing that. Bless you.
So So if you have a budget amount to pursue so many projects, but you get to your threshold that's already been approved, and you have, say, 2 projects that haven't been completed yet or can't be completed because there's no more money, then you need to come to us for a budget amendment.
That could be one of the solutions.
Yeah.
Essentially, if there was $10 million for capital projects, 10 projects, not all of them are exactly $1 million. We might have internal documents knowing the board approved these 10 projects, total budget, we're working through that and be able to monitor it. But the check and balance doesn't come until the end when we have gone through that 10 million and realize, well, something happened.
Yep.
That shouldn't happen if it's obviously been approved for that. So that should cover itself, but it is now an internal control document.
Yeah. That's fine.
I see this mostly as a day-to-day operations. At least that's how I had pictured it before, was something that came up that there's,
The 2.6.
no, the 100,000.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes,
So anything that comes up in unexpected fashion,
100%, yes.
that's what this is really entailed to cover, not capital project expenditures, contract amounts to compensate for that.
Yes, it's 100% on that. What we're saying is that the non-day-to-day, the budget was approved with dollar amounts for projects. Technically, the board's already approved them with, in theory, those budget amounts. They shouldn't have to come back to the board for final approval.
Right.
We just want to make sure we're not, because of how this delegation of authority works in this situation, that we're not running a risk of not meeting that intent.
You're still coming to the board with the resolution to
Award.
approve the award, yes. So we're still seeing it, and we'll still be able to track, you know, that piece of the total list of project pie, if you will, and make sure that we're on track.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Also fair.
Okay.
Is that right? Any issue with that?
What he said?
Award?
I think for sure I would need a president's signature because it's over 100,000.
Right.
But I don't. You might have to add that to the
Yeah.
internal.
In theory, the document needed to complete it isn't a board-approved resolution, it's a signed copy by the president stating that we are awarding this. So it technically doesn't need to come back for board approval.
After it's signed.
After it's ratified in a meeting.
Could be ratified in a meeting.
That's what we do when we approve an award. There's a resolution, we vote on it, approve it, and then it's signed.
What we're saying is that if it's approved in the budget with the amount, it's within that amount, the only thing that's needed is the signature. The board has already approved the budget. Essentially, the president is authorized to sign the final thing.
I don't know if I would change our notification process.
I don't think it changes. No, so in this example, and as Bill mentioned, President Vickers mentioned about ratification, it could be a consent agenda item, essentially, a similar thing.
To keep the total hidden from the,
Not really to keep total hidden, everything will be shared. It'll, at that time, be something to keep the process moving, because what ends up happening often, especially if we go back to different board models, is discussion and action are happening sometimes with the item that's coming forward. Instead of it's just a consent agenda item, it's ratifying if there's no issue and moving forward, and the president's authorized to sign it. I think it means the same intent.
I don't know, what are you guys' thoughts? I would
So
keep the process the same, myself.
I think when we're talking about anything over 100,000, like, I don't think we're running into maybe that much of an issue for it, because I think we're still going to probably go through a ratification or a approval process. Technically, with 50,000, we're going for a competitive bid. Do those still need to be signed by the president if it's 50 to 100?
I think you would be able to sign from 50
Right.
to 100.
Okay.
Yeah, we're doing anything over 100.
Signing anything that
That low.
Okay.
was within the threshold of what we had, so the new thresholds would be the same, but
I think we covered every funny business of this.
yeah, and I think most of the concern is, like Brian had brought up, it's not present staff, this carries on in the future, and we just want to make sure that the board's not out in the cold when things can go awry pretty quickly. So we're just, I think, using discretion and disclosing voluntarily what might be going on is helpful. But yeah, you should have that authority to carry that out. But I still think, yeah, like Brian said, over the threshold, we still need to be notified.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's guidance enough for.
Is that
Yeah.
confusing
Yeah.
enough?
Yeah.
You want us to continue?
I got it.
So for projects, I just want to clarify. And you probably need clarification too, I imagine. So for things over $100,000 that come to the board, whether it's a capital expense or what have you, if it's a capital expense, are we still going through the motion of awarding the RFP or the bid, and then the president will still sign the document? It still gets voted on in the meeting, et cetera, et cetera. Same process as now. Is that process still?
So I'm thinking through the design, construction, because I think those can challenge some of the limits where sometimes it could be a design under 100,000, an expense over 100,000.
Let's take the aquatic center. Let's throw
So-
out an example. Okay, so we got $598,000 for the aquatic center design. So that will still come to the board. We still vote to approve it. It then gets signed by the president and it moves forward.
Yes,
with
so
procurement.
the only thing that I think was of a question of, I know there's several connections here for why this gets strange, was the RFP being issued. In those moments of what that document states, the board approves the budget, approves this is the aquatic center, the expectation of what's going forward. The design goes out, whether they establish a committee or whether it's a staff committee for it. At the end, when it's ready to be awarded, it's been evaluated, that should, assuming over 100,000, come back to the board for approval and award, approving the award.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Just want to make sure the process stays. Thank you.
There was, and I'm trying to find it now as I was going through this last night, there was one area that I wanted to clarify, was the awarding of contract without a bid from a carryover of a contract. We had talked about it, that email that I sent you last night about.
Oh, okay.
That's in here somewhere, and
I remember seeing that.
I had it marked.
What's the state's policy on that? Up to 5 years? Rollover? Is that what you're talking about, rollover contract?
Well, yes, well, like extending the Cinta contract or the fire station contract without the project scope changed substantially. Do we stand the risk of being in any legal trouble by not rebidding that, since that has substantially changed?
I think if you're talking about the 5-year, we're more restrictive. The state does allow up to 5 years. Ours is like contract year plus 2 additional years.
Good.
So 3, max of 3. As far as like situations where you're changing scope,
That's 10% threshold, right?
I don't think we have anything in here stating that, and I'm not sure. Is that something?
That's a state thing
State?
too. Mhm.
I mean, well, maybe we should look at adopting.
I think
that.
that's best practice, so I don't think it's a law.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So if your any contract changes more than 10%, they recommend rebidding.
So like when you go through a 10% contingency, is that what you're? Or
I just, mind if I have clarity? Because I think I understand your question, and for this, so Fire Station 1's renovation remodel and the indoor pool aquatic center both started with an initial contract, HB&A at the time and Essenza, both multiple years pass. And then there may be either a change in scope or a change in approach. In the case of Fire Station 1, there was a overall expansion, renovation, and it changed at some point to just the renovation and changed to almost a new type of expansion. The indoor pool and aquatic center went through hey, there's a overall aquatic center design. It reduced its scope down to the indoor pool, and then there was a modification and alternate design to that indoor pool concept. Question is there any concern knowing that the project itself, as it was bid, whether the intent was the full scope or a more generalized, we're doing an indoor pool aquatic center, we're doing a Fire Station 1 remodel. As that changes, are there requirements or things that either are already currently we're concerned about in the policy that say we should go out for another bid versus should we consider that in the future, including language to address that?
I think
That's captured?
Yeah, that's all. I just want to make sure that we don't get ourselves in hot water.
I think we should probably consider language, because I don't, just off the top of my head, I don't think we address it specifically like that, and maybe we should
I think, go ahead.
adopt something similar to the state or look at that.
The way they phrase it is, if the value of the total value of the contract changes more than 10%, then it should be reevaluated and rebid.
Gotcha.
I would say as we were reviewing it and talking about it during each of these situations, that hadn't triggered for us as we were having conversations about it. The general thought has been that it's the same essential project. It's just changed how we've envisioned what the scope could be for it. It hasn't changed from an indoor pool to a recreational center, for instance. But it probably, to your point, and to the point I think raising is language to make it more objective so that when we run into those situations, we mitigate risks for liability is good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that something we can still move forward with, potentially this procurement policy addressed within the next few months and be able to bring another?
I'm, let the other guys.
So I'm just gonna kind of put this in layman's terms. So if we had a change order that reduced the price of the build and design, right? Then we ain't worried about this. But if we had a change order that went over to the tune of 10%, they would either have to renegotiate the contract or put it back out for bid.
It wouldn't matter whether it's over or under. If it's
Okay,
kept-
does it? Okay.
It's a different animal, a change order is a different animal.
Well, no, I was just using that
Right,
example.
right. So, and it's more driven towards service than necessarily a build. Okay, so let's say our janitorial services for the district. Let's say 1 year it's $50,000, and then we eliminate a bunch of buildings, and now the janitorial contract is worth $30,000. So that's a massive change in the value of the contract.
Correct.
So it should be rebid to let others
I agree.
bid on the total.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I got a question. Aside from that stuff, is this, I don't know if it's the right place for it, but I have a question on the request for proposals. Is this part of the,
What section?
I can bring this up now? Is this,
You talking about the one?
3.5,
Are you talking about the policy or a
I
specific
just-
request for proposal?
page 27?
okay, so my question is on the request for proposals, for example, on the admin building. On the very front page, there's a question at the bottom. It says, is your company a small minority or woman-owned company? And a few other questions there. Is that, where did that come from?
I think that's either a state or a
State.
federal
Yeah, it could be
State?
federal, yeah, you're right.
Okay,
Yeah.
question.
okay. I was just curious.
Mhm.
That's it.
And then the Buy American, that's federal.
Yeah,
And we actually have new thresholds. I don't know if it pertains to you. But I know we have to,
if we were
we
using
can't more than 10%.
right, I think if we're using federal money, we definitely have to pay attention. If we're not using federal money, I don't think it's as important unless we choose to
That's
do
true.
that.
So property taxes are state, right?
Right.
Local, yeah, so that's true.
Mr. Potter, or anything else, Chris? Mr. Potter?
So I think the whole situation where we're taking the bid or the project and not knowing what the cost of the project is going to be, I think that's miscued. I think we internally will know how much the project's going to be. It's just not going to be public information. So we can account for a project, correct?
100%. Okay.
Okay.
The concern was there's no public document approving it. Like, we might have an internal document, and the board would have knowledge of it too. But if it came down to it's 105,000.
Right.
If
Public-
public asks, like, when did the board approve that? Well, they approved $10 million for the total capital. We have an internal document showing that. There wouldn't be anything linking the board directly approving that, because it couldn't come into public session. That-
Yeah, for instance, like with the pool, we already know all that situation with the pool and all that stuff. So you have the pool. We have this project going on. The only thing that's redacted is the how much, but we know how much. If you want to know, you can come and request the information.
Yeah, it's still quotable, still,
Yeah.
if
Yeah,
most people can ask.
yeah, it's just not gonna be out there for everybody to view. That's what I want to make sure we're.
Yes, accurate.
All right, thank you.
That's it.
Yeah, that was longer than I thought it would be.
Number one down, sorry.
All right.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, now sign it out.
Other tabs.
Okay, next is going to be water taps allocation.
Good morning, Board. Elisa Vasquez, Water Resource Manager. Today I'm bringing you some information about TAPs. So as you probably know, since about 2021, we've been managing and tracking TAP counts, the amount of TAPs that we sell every year as a way to manage water resources. So we received a TAP analysis in 2021, the first one, and it expired, or we allocated the TAPs up until 2026. So this year in 2025, we requested another TAP analysis from our water resource engineer, as well as a water resource analysis as well. We received both of those, and today I'm going to present some information about what we propose we do with that information as far as TAPs go in the future. Yeah, perfect. So as you can see, in 2021, we sold a lot of TAPs. And that's when we kind of decided we needed to regulate that and keep track. So we allocated about 200 per year for the next few years. And we had some left over. You'll see that in orange for 2024, 2025. We had some just left over. So currently for 2026, we had allocated about 100 TAPs plus whatever we had left over, which is 90. So we have 190 allocated for 2026. And then with the new TAP count analysis that we got, we were allocated about, or we were allowed, or the research shows we could support about 1,000 more TAPs with our current water resources, which is great news. That increase mainly comes from the Wild Horse Pipeline coming online in 2026, and also water conservation, which has made a major impact on our the amount of water being used per tap, basically. So we propose allocating 200 taps per year for the next 4 years, so 2026 through 2029, and then getting another analysis and re-looking at it for 2030, because we may have some different situation going on at that point. Any questions?
I have loads.
Okay.
We'll start with Mr. Axworthy.
Do you want to dive into that memorandum now, or was that your next?
Sure. Do you want to ask questions about it, or do you just want me to? Sure. Yeah.
Okay, so the first page talks about the water tap analysis.
Yes.
And the conservative nature of that approach.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of resources missing based on our water rights and availability. So including the lease in which we pay the Pueblo Board of Water Works every year. I mean, we don't include any of that water. We pay for it every year, but we don't include any of that water in terms of how many taps we currently have present. So just wondering why we are acting so conservative on the number of taps that we may have.
So our lease that we currently have with the Pueblo Board of Water Works expires in 2028. So it's not a constant resource. It's not something we can rely on every year. So therefore, we don't use it when we're analyzing our resources over.
Okay, so that explains the lease.
And
then
just to add to that, that was to bridge the Hill Ranch, ideally. That's
Okay.
part of why it existed.
So Hill Ranch is not in here at all.
It is referenced. We don't have full ability to use it until 2028.
We have 400 acre feet a year right now,
Yeah,
correct?
and
Not
that's
the
only a
1,600.
portion of what we will have when we finish our revegetation project.
Right. Yeah. According to the report, we'll have 1,600 acre feet roughly.
Yeah, that's the average.
Right now we have 400.
I thought we got 900 off of it last year.
We have taken more or less over time. I think that's an average of what we could take and should take based on our current situation. I believe we did take a little bit more than that in the past, and this year we took nothing, so it just depends on how we allocate our resources there.
Most of the tap analysis will have like past 5 years as far as an average, so it might be bringing the average down.
So the Wild Horse Pipeline wasn't involved in the 2023 evaluation, but it is now, so that's 400 acre feet, is that correct? But we actually have, for this comparison and analysis for TAPS, but we actually get an average of 5,560 acre feet a year
For,
for Twin Lakes water.
yes.
And I didn't print out there I did. But we're utilizing a figure of 50, says the driest year direct water supplies is 5,724 acre feet per year. That was 2023.
The current water, the TAP analysis or the water resource are we talking about? But that
Sorry,
sounds
yeah, I'm
correct.
jumping.
I was just
Okay.
curious. Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. We still don't know how many acre feet we're getting from Part B non-point source return flows.
Yeah, it's
That's
not-
the septic return flows, correct?
Correct. It's not in this analysis because it's not currently online. So we're conservatively only counting the things we can count on right now.
Correct.
And so in the future, that will be ready to go, and we can request one of these every year. So possibly next year, when we have more information on that, we can request another one of these analysis. We don't have to wait till 2030 to get
So in the
more
report, it says
information.
at full build out, we'd have 2,700 acre feet.
From the reuse.
Mhm.
Yeah,
From the
correct.
septic.
Yes, I believe that was both the reuse Part A and Part B together.
Okay,
So the pipeline and the septic.
okay. We don't include any of the Colorado Canal shares, but that's actually 240 acre feet a year.
Yeah, we don't include them because they have zero firm yield. So although we do get them on an average year, in a drought situation, they have no firm value.
So the firm value, where do we get that figure as far as firm value per year?
I don't know if it's directly in that report, but it just depends on, each year it can actually change a little bit. They reevaluate, but it's basically per share. So I believe Twin Lakes is like, do you know, 0.4 acre foot per share in firm yield, and that's the other main source that we have.
As a total though, what do you think the total would be
With
all of our
reuse,
resources?
Yeah, sorry, Jeffrey De Herrera, Deputy Director of Utilities Administration. With reuse, I'm thinking probably between 5,500 and 6,000.
Okay.
Yeah, firm yield with reuse water.
6,000. Sorry, this is the first time I've seen one of these reports. I thought it was super interesting. I've got tons more questions. Firm yield. Okay. So in the report, the reason I'm getting at all this is in the report, it says our water demands are 5,150 acre feet. Currently, that's 14,100 taps. For full build out, it's estimated that we would need 8,575 acre feet for 18,400 taps. That's all approximate, of course.
Correct.
And part of that is because what is remaining to be built out, some of those are larger and there's more commercial that could be built out than what there is established right now versus residential.
Okay. So
it could be higher demand. What's remaining could be higher demand than what we're seeing right now.
okay. So if we have enough firm yield to satisfy our current needs, we're paying an additional lease with the Pueblo Board of Water Works for an additional water. That's how many acre feet?
1,500.
1,500. And you said that lease is up in 28 or 29?
2028, I believe. We had an extension due to a pipeline complication. So it originally, I believe, ended in 2027, but with that year extension at 2028.
Okay. All right. Now we get into the other stuff. All right. Okay, so in the water rights section, the first 4 bullet points, if you add all of those up, we have about 6,230 acre feet of water, just in the first 4 bullet points. If you look at the last 3 bullet points,
Yeah, that would be average.
we're looking at the district reuse, that's that 2,700 acre feet, but that's estimated at full build out, right?
Correct.
We're not fully built out yet on the north side for sure, which is where that water would be coming from for the most part, correct?
Yeah, it's honestly like almost a 50-50 split currently with the pipeline and then the septic
Okay.
reuse.
Then we have 7,900 acre feet with the well supplies that we aren't using because of quality issues. Can you
Correct.
expand on that for us?
So we have wells decreed to us. Using, we did actually, Pueblo West used to use them solely for all of our water before we got Twin Lakes shares. Since then, water quality standards have been increased. So their current plan is to be used mainly for the irrigation supplementation, which actually does allow more water to be used for the plant and servicing the community. There's a lot of maintenance to be done with those. Many of them have been like filled in. So although that is an estimate of what we could do, there isn't current plans to have all of them re-established and re-piped, just due to the mass amount of time. Well, first off, time that has been gone since we were using them, and then quality control issues of having to recreate or reestablish certain filtration processes that we would need extra to process that water for drinking water. Although we do have it as an option in our water resource or water rights list.
I'll add to that, we have current capital projects like the well 104, and then I think it's called Cyclone Trail Well Line 2, and I think that's coming up on the agenda later today. I can't remember, one of those things is. And then also for 2026, we have the capital project for, is it just design or design of the well line from well 16, which is northwest of the Big R, to bring that to the water treatment plant, because that water quality is good enough that we can blend it with what we do now.
So
the
we
other
are-
ones, the other ones are going to be probably strictly for irrigation, and eventually, hopefully 2027, 2029, something like that, we can get Civic Center Park a non-potable water too. It's basically across the street, and I believe it's about another 3/4 mile to the ballpark from there. So
Awesome.
we're hoping to bring more of those wells online. Yes.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely a resource. So the last communication I've had on the well water quality, I was told that it was just, we couldn't use it because of the high salinity content. Is there any other issues potentially with the water?
Yeah, there's a couple. We have we recently ran a well testing analysis on all of the wells that we were considering. I believe it was 6 wells total, and we can definitely share that with you guys. There are a couple contaminants that we just have to keep an eye on, especially entering the pond where we have fish and plants and things like that. I don't have that in front of me today, but I can definitely
Okay.
share it with you guys so you can see what other contaminants we're just keeping an eye on.
Okay.
But salinity was one of the
The main one?
problems that.
So if we wanted,
I was gonna ask.
yeah, go for it. Go.
So, do you think that some of the tests would running those wells improve water quality?
So I was going to say real quick that we run well 3 into the pond for many years now.
Okay.
Quality's about the same as it
Okay.
was. So there's a chance that we could improve some things by running them for longer, but I think the salinity and other things like that just come from the groundwater itself.
Thank you.
Okay. So what I was getting at in total is, so if you look at all the first 4 bullet points versus all of our water rights and our resources, we're only really utilizing 35% of our total portfolio based on the numbers in the report.
Yeah, once Hill Ranch, once Wild Horse came online, absolutely.
Okay.
Our numbers have been looking very, very good now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So in your opinion, if we can get the well water up to date, are we going to have enough water for full build out?
I think we're getting really close.
Very.
I really
Without
think
having
we're
to
getting-
enter into any other partnerships or et cetera. We have enough water.
We'll be very, very close.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
there's some work to be done, but I do think we're way closer than we have been in the past.
For many, many years now, it's been Pueblo West doesn't have water, but according to this, we have water.
We
just
have
need
water.
to, we just
Working
need
on it
to, we need to
we've
get
been
it.
working on hard.
I know, it's a
Okay.
beautiful thing.
Yeah,
Not, I would say not quite enough. We still have some work to do, but we are getting close, and we do have water.
Okay. I very much appreciate your efforts in this, and I love this report, just that it opens up our eyes to the possibilities and what we actually have. So last question I have is regarding storage, because I know that we've talked about requiring 2 years' worth of storage for just-in-case measures. You know, if we have a bad drought year or whatever, we still have water enough stored away to satisfy our needs. So when I looked at that, and I can run some numbers, but we've got 6,545 acres at Twin Lakes, 679 at Lake Meredith. But then as I came across some other things, I had some questions. So there's 8,625 acres in Pueblo Reservoir based on the USBR. And then there was a statement mentioned about by the end of 2025, we're supposed to procure all of those acre feet.
So we currently have an agreement for if and when storage in
Correct.
Pueblo Reservoir, and that is seeming to be, or the chances of that being firm storage are very low.
Right. If they need to spill water out, that's our water that's basically being spilled out. I get that.
Yes, and they're actually talking about reducing storage in Pueblo Reservoir for everybody, like equally across the board, just due to like reservoir maintenance issues they're having. So it's definitely not a firm storage or super reliable storage that we have there.
So those agreements with USBR and the SE, sorry, Greg, I don't, thank you.
Southeastern Colorado Water Conservancy District.
Okay, so USBR is a U.S. Bureau of Reclamation.
Correct.
And then we also have an agreement with
Southeastern.
Southeastern,
Southeastern Colorado Water Conservancy District.
okay. Okay. So one is for the USBR, or Bureau of Reclamation, is for 8,625 acre feet. The one for the SEC WCD is for potentially 6,000 acre feet. We currently have 1,000.
Correct.
So if we were to procure all of that, that would satisfy our storage needs, correct?
So we
Not
would
firm
have-
storage.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I think since it is not firm storage, it's valued a little bit less on the storage
I would hope so.
idea.
Right.
So I don't think it would not satisfy our need for storage for full build out for sure.
So I understand if there's a overage of water and they have to spill water, that's our water that we're losing. I understand that piece. What if there's a drought and there's less water in the reservoir? Do we still have those acre feet?
Yes.
Okay. So then,
Usually when there's a drought, everybody's storing water. So it's not just that we have a really wet year, it's that other people who own storage are storing a lot there as well. So their accounts are full, because especially if we're predicting a drought year, everybody's going to be wanting to be storing water for
Right.
their contingency.
Right.
And there's a bunch of different people that own storage in Pueblo Reservoir.
so if we had all of those acre feet, if we procured all of that through the USBR and the SEC WCD, that water wouldn't go anywhere in a drought year.
Potentially correct, yes.
Okay. So we could rely on it, potentially,
Yes.
because it's not being
So,
spilled, because
yeah.
you're not going to spill water during a drought year, right?
Correct, but just as an example, last year we were at 100% threat of spill. We had to reduce those accounts to 0, which means we had to move our water into
Yeah.
our other accounts. And last year wasn't necessarily a super wet year, so
Right,
it does
right.
happen where we have threat of spill imminent with
Okay.
that account.
And I think the thinking at almost 10 years ago now, I think it was around 2016, 2017, was that southeastern water account, it can't go down. It can only ever go up to
Correct.
6,000. And I believe the thinking at the time was when Hill Ranch comes online, then raise that threshold.
So that we can store that water?
Yeah, in the southeastern account.
Okay. Would you store it, or would you trade it, or how's that? Is some sort of,
Maybe both.
Okay, all right.
Depends.
okay. So kind of what I'm getting at, I'm trying to pull this out of you. we technically would have enough storage if we had all of those shares at the reservoir, or all of those acre feet.
I would say for full build out, we would not, just because of the threat of spill. One wet year and we have to move all that water out, we're losing it. So I think that storage is still
So the
something
water,
we need to work towards.
the water
Just-
demands in the report say we need 8,575 acre feet per year. So if we used our current resources and we procured those acre feet at the reservoir through those two programs, that would be well more than that.
Yes.
Can I ask a couple clarifying things maybe?
Sure. Yeah.
That's if and when storage, if we were to purchase that. So I
Oh.
think,
If and
to
when,
your
correct.
point, by numbers wise, yes, it sounds like number wise it would, but it's like having a big, if it's a bucket of water, it's like having a big plug that somebody at any point can pull out, and then you don't have that, if that's a good metaphor.
And one of the big circumstances we're trying to avoid is a good year and then maybe 2 really bad years. Because in the really good year, and the storage is anemic because ours has a threat of spill and we have to move it out, then having to move it back because of drought and or a couple years sustained drought after really good years, those kind of circumstances play a part of that too.
So would it be accurate to say that the bad situation is it spills, the drought happens immediately, there's nothing in the storage, we're experiencing multiple years of drought, but because everybody might be experiencing the drought, you could refill over time, but it wouldn't solve your immediate crisis.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't know how all that
Yeah.
works.
I guess my answer is it does fill that number on paper, but in reality, it's not the storage that we would want to feel very firm and confident in our ability to store and provide water to our community. So even though we do have it, and it is the right number on paper, it's not exactly what we're looking for or what everything we need to feel confident and successful in storing water.
It's
for
probably the
community.
cheapest way to go to increase our storage, correct? Even if it's not guaranteed. It's certainly cheaper. I imagine it'd be cheaper than buying Twin Lakes shares, for instance.
Would it, for the intent of what the purpose of having storage to mitigate, reduce the impact of a drought, would that, in those cases, address that? Or is
Yeah, I
it-
don't know. That's my,
Yeah, I think that's, I'm speaking out loud.
yeah. Yeah.
I think it's like that on paper solution that does work until that worst case scenario plays out. We have wet year, then drought.
Have we had that historically? And they don't drain that reservoir completely when they have to spill. They just spill the water that the reservoir can't contain, right?
Yeah,
So
so-
you still have your base amount of water in there.
We're right on top. If you imagine if and when storage is stored technically like right on top. So
Right.
everybody that has firm storage, they do not have to spill unless like worst case scenario. So all of our water would spill before someone with firm storage would even have to start.
But it's being replenished. I mean, in a wet year, I mean,
The
theoretically,
next year was
they're letting out water as it's coming in. And they're
So-
keeping the level maintained.
Yeah.
You're dumping water that you're not storing for the ability to use it later, but you still have water. I don't want to give the
That makes sense,
scenario
yeah.
that
there's
we
still
don't
some,
have water.
Yeah.
The reservoir has water.
Right.
If it was like, this is the reservoir, sorry camera, I'm probably not gonna do this. The water's being filled in from the bottom and it's spilling out what's at the top. And the less priority are at the top, which we exist on. So as the water comes in this way, we spill out.
Yeah. One other
I
important
The
get
water, to
that,
your
but it's
point.
still coming in.
We don't-
Yes.
It's coming in and going out.
But so long as it's filling
Yeah.
these people's buckets, we may stay spilled or not filling our buckets within that.
And we don't have any water rights coming from Pueblo Reservoir. So no matter how much water enters Pueblo Reservoir, we don't get that. Our water is only storage in Pueblo Reservoir. So if the rain is falling in Pueblo Reservoir, it's not like we're getting more water from that.
Right.
It's just our storage that's spilling.
Right.
We're getting water from Twin Lakes, which is great. We're having a wet year. We're getting a lot of water from Twin Lakes. But in Pueblo Reservoir itself, we're actually not acquiring water from a wet year. We are only spilling.
Which means our
Because the water
water-
rights are
You're
not
not adding
assessed.
additional resource, but you have 8,000 acre feet available or whatever the
Yeah.
figure was that he,
65.
and that doesn't change.
Okay. Okay. I
Thank
will
you.
stop drilling you. Thank you so much. I apologize for that.
Yeah, hopefully that we answered your questions. I can share a few more documents with you guys. It's a complicated kind
It
of.
is. There's a lot to it, and you guys, I think you're doing a great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But you got 3 more guys to answer to. You got any questions, Mr. Peserick?
We're talking residential when you're looking at those taps?
All taps.
All taps?
Residential, commercial, industrial.
Okay.
And,
then
some of those count more towards it, like if someone's building 6 or 8 units on a property, on
Mhm.
a parcel, that might be 3 or 4 of these taps.
Okay. And then, is there like why do you do 26, 27, 28, 29? Why don't you do 26, 27, 28 as an example?
Well, part of that was Hill Ranch. Hill Ranch, the revegetation should be completed in 2028, and
Okay.
then that water is available in 2029 fully.
So there's no
So
like,
that, yeah, it was.
you guys just evaluate and say, this is what we want to do, as opposed to there's some sort of state standard or something that says
Yeah.
you have to do 4 years or something?
Yeah,
Okay.
and we can get the analysis even next year, every year, if you want to see it, how it's changing. It's not that we have to just wait till 2029 to get another analysis.
Okay, thanks.
Mhm.
Mr. Potter?
I'm good to go, thank you.
Mr. Roberts?
My question would be is, if we limit it to 200 procedurally, would it have to come back to the board to go above and beyond that for a, let's say like a larger project? You know, somebody's coming in and building 40 homes?
If it was something at the end of the year, potentially, yes.
So the board still has a pool that we could use at our discretion, correct? A pool of taps?
Yeah, that 150.
150? Yeah.
And
So we-
Doesn't change that.
Yeah, the other reason we looked at around 200 is based on the previous years. We haven't gone over 200 since 2020.
Right, yeah. You had
So-
70 and then 20,
Yeah.
carried over 90. Yeah.
So we're just given that kind of baseline, and if we were to just get a big boom or something, then
So-
we would come to you again.
So it's kind of a strategic guideline, but there is the opportunity to expand if a larger project comes in. Sure. Okay.
I do have one thing I just thought about. Those wells that we have capped, is it a possibility of finding out how much it would cost to, instead of dumping them into some sort of pond or reservoir or something like that, where you're saying we could use them for what am I thinking, the gardening or something like that, or people's landscapes and stuff like that?
Yeah, we could look into that. The reason it works so well in irrigation is because we're mixing that water with less contaminated water, so it's not affecting the grass. I think in some instances with like using a single well, it would have an effect on the plant or on grass or a garden, using that water solely to water without mixing it with less contaminated water.
And one reason we like to keep it in a small geographic area is if you do have non-potable water available for irrigation district-wide, that's another 400 miles of pipeline in the ground. That would be, I verge on saying infinitely expensive.
So, would it be possible to put that into like use into water storage, like they do, and clean up the water and stuff like that? Where we build some sort of, where we're able to utilize the water and like a water tower or so to clean up the water, and then and those pumps fill the water tower.
Well, yeah, and it's possible to bring all those wells to the treatment plant and treat it. Where it gets expensive is disposing of what's removed from that water.
And that's on the agenda.
No,
That's something different.
Yeah.
That's different.
Yeah, not the well. Yeah, because I'm just saying. I think
And we
that's
can't
a
do that right
resource
now
we
with
can-
our plant. Our plant couldn't handle that right now.
Right.
The whole plant would have to be changed, yeah.
We definitely have to add some things. It's definitely a possibility. The wells are a great resource that are, I would say, being underutilized right now. So definitely some room to talk about what that looks like in the future.
Right.
Yeah, we definitely need to weigh the cost of
Right.
refurbishing our wells or buying Twin Lakes
And
shares.
that's why we're doing it kind of systematically now with non-potable, and then maybe expanding to some close by parks and things like that. And then the one that we know is cleanest, that we can blend with what we're doing now, doing it what we currently have instead of expanding the plant or changing the treatment process. Is it possible? Yes, it's just those are very, very heavy
And-
endeavors.
Or what's the possibility of running it into the river and getting an exchange rate?
That wouldn't happen.
Yeah, they don't really,
No?
they don't usually give exchange for
Well water.
groundwater entering a water source like
Okay.
that because of the contaminants and just, they don't really like to mix.
Gotcha.
I'm not saying that we couldn't ask for the,
No, I just-
for the possibility of that, but in general, what I've seen is usually you can't just discharge a well and get credits for it.
Okay.
Because it's not the same kind of
That-
water.
But
or
once we
quality.
clean it up, we can't get credit.
You clean it up, absolutely.
Yeah.
But then,
Clean it up,
yeah, we
might
might as
as
well
well drink it.
pump it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they use it if we're gonna
And it
clean
did happen where a couple of wells were drained into the reservoir in 2002,
Mhm.
in probably the worst drought we'll ever see and have ever seen anyways, 2002 and 2003. And the documents, I'm paraphrasing, that we got from the state, you can do it now, but don't expect to ever do this again.
Gotcha.
So we are running water from a well to Cattail, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, and that offsets, I'm assuming that offsets our water that we discharge to Cattail, which improves our water resources, is that a
That is
fair
correct.
assumption?
Yeah, we currently have one well actively running into the pond, and we're running a pipeline this year and next year, which will include 3 more wells into
Okay.
that process. That will reduce the pressure of the plant giving water to the golf course, in turn increasing the amount of water left for everybody else.
For us,
Yeah.
okay, good.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think you're still up though,
I
right?
know.
Yes, we are.
Updating the water rights dedication.
So, yes, Jeffrey De Herrera, once again, Deputy Director of Utilities Administration. We are here because 2022, we were going through some of that tap pressure that Alyssa just noted, and our rules and regs were changed to kind of curb development that was over 5 acres. So if you're over 5 acres, you had to bring in water resources dedication. That doesn't always work. A couple months ago, we even brought a variance to the board. It was a landscaping company that doesn't use as much basically as a house, but they're at 5 acres. And then also some other ones could be half an acre and use a lot more. So we look at changing those. What we did was we came up with a table basically that was based upon three data sets. Current averages per our billing categories, which are basically single-family residential, multifamily, and commercial, I think, are the 3 biggest ones. I think multiplex is in there too. Based on that, the number of remaining undeveloped lots and what they could potentially be if they were zoned business, I think it's community, commercial now, or mixed neighborhood. And also based on kind of what we just discussed too is the total water demand at build out. So looking at all those 3 things, we're looking at changing the rules and regulations to basically what it comes down to is that table A up in the top right corner. If you're building a duplex, you basically have 0.6 acre feet available to your property. Triplex would be 0.9. That's based on 0.3 again per unit. Sorry, and then a multiplex 4 or more would be limited to 1.2. So if you had 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 on 8 units on one property, you're still limited to the 1.2. If you could do 8 and be under that threshold, great. If you can only do 6, it's kind of going to be based on what people can do. And then commercial, it would be 1.68 acre feet is basically what this does. And thank you to Mr. Matt Lund for putting this flow chart together. It shows if you're subdividing or under what circumstances you would have to do this. We would ask for a water demand report for anything other than single family residential. It's just that way we know basically what their demands, they expect their demands to be. But ultimately we would hold to those thresholds instead of the 5 acre rule.
Yeah, I think that's a better way to go, gallons
Sounds
or
reasonable.
water usage compared to the size of the
Yeah, we feel it's
ground.
more equitable. Yeah.
And you're basing that on a third of an acre feet or a little more than a third of an acre per house?
Per single family
Per
house, yeah.
single family house.
Well,
No
actually,
less,
no.
right?
That's more of like 0.4, but what we see in a duplex is 0.6, so we divided that number up by 2, and that's how we got the 0.9. We just added that 0.3 to that.
Okay.
No, single family residential is a little bit more than 0.3. It's
Okay.
higher than that. Yeah.
So this is what we're allowing them to use if they want to use more than,
Then we would ask to bring water resources. You could use more if you brought us more. Absolutely. And then there would be penalties. We monitor, to a degree, we monitor consumption now for continuous consumption, things like where we think people might be having leaks or problems or something. But we would actually ask those properties that were going over or really close, we'd actually monitor those more closely. So that way we know. And at the end of the year, if they did go over what they said they were going, we'd charge them whatever that 2 times the highest rate of our whatever our tiers may be. So if our 4th tier was adopted and they went over, they'd charge, once they went over, the overage would be 2 times that highest tier. So there's incentive to stay under that, or to stay within what they told us they were going to use.
can you give us an example of what 1.68 acre feet per year in a commercial facility would look like? Like, is it a restaurant? Is it a grocery store? Is it a warehouse with a couple bathrooms?
I'd say most of the restaurants out here would be within that threshold, yes. Most probably 3/4 to 80%, whether it be fast food or sit down, they'd be within that. It's where you get big ones, like maybe a Walmart. Walmart's definitely higher than that. Safeway's definitely higher than that. But they also do, both of those places have outdoor irrigation. So, you know, they
Okay.
could potentially use less.
So this could help bring more commerce to the Pueblo West, is what you're saying?
Yeah, instead of just having this strict 5 acre.
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Makes it easier for us. I have a question on, have you addressed ADUs, accessory dwelling units, and what you're gonna require for taps,
Yeah,
or how that, because, you know, there's been a discussion on, do they have to pay for another tap?
Yeah, and right now our rules and regs do say a second building on a property requires a second tap. There's differing opinions. I don't know if anyone's better. We could require them to upsize from a 3/4 to a 1 inch maybe, and then they pay just the difference. Like if the current rate of a 1 inch is 40,000 versus the 20,000 of a 3/4, maybe they just pay that difference. But we think the 4th tier would also help keep high usage from those ADUs too. But the ADUs is a big conversation that probably has to bring in Mr. Winter's department and probably Mr. Lund's department. It's a big discussion.
Yeah. So it's not, you really haven't addressed it in any changes so far?
Not in this.
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
All right.
I'd hate to limit.
And I'll say that this is not planned for action on Monday because we wanted to clean up some of the documents. We could discuss that more in the next month before the January work session. We can definitely discuss.
Well, I
that.
think it's been driven by the county, isn't it? The ADU thing, mostly? Just yes or no?
We had a meeting back a few months ago to talk about ADUs. It's an ongoing issue. I think the important part for the district is that we are not a subject jurisdiction because we are under 40,000, so it does not apply to us at this point in time. And our covenants right now govern that, and we do not allow ADUs
Okay. Okay, so.
this time.
Yeah, just to add, that's state legislation that passed for that 40,000 MPO requirement, which is Metropolitan Planning Organization, I believe. It is, once we cross that threshold, we should have something because then we do become an authority. Up until then, it is the county.
Okay.
So the only thing I would correct is just how ADUs are viewed upon. I don't see them as an issue in and of themselves. I think I think the economy is the issue, and the ADUs are one of the solutions to address the economy right now, and that's why it's a growing concern or a growing instance. Not even a concern. It's what's happening. It's the result of people needing to reduce costs. So we're going to see more and more family compounds, I would imagine, as we move along and the economy continues to be more expensive.
Anything else, guys?
I don't have anything.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next is the biosolids removal and hauling services.
Good morning, Board. Kevin Love, Deputy Director of Utility Operations. Got a couple discussion items here. I'm going to start with the biosolids removal and handling services. This will be for the wastewater facility. We received 2 bids for this service. The Metro District utilizes this special service to rid it of the biosolids, which is hauled off currently by Denali Water Solutions. We budgeted in the year 2025 and 2026 $140,000 for this. I did attach a activity since 11/2025, which indicates on average how much we're spending per month for this service. Year to date was about 88,000, so we're well under budget. On the contract for this service, the lowest bidder was Denali again, and they have provided us with the totals of $36.95 per ton at a ton minimum of 20, which is about average for our loads. This specialized rate also includes dewatering service at $650 per ton and liquid hauling at basically 35 cents per gallon. We recommend that during the action item that we'll be hopefully getting your approval to move forward with that. Did you have any questions regarding this?
I missed that, but is this the, when I did the tour, is this the truck that backs up and takes the solids?
Yeah,
and
so at the solids
leaves
handling building, there's a tanker that comes in and they use a filter press to remove and extract as much water from these solids as possible, and then those solids are hauled off to a landfill, an approved landfill.
They take it to a landfill?
Correct.
Okay. That's it.
I just have a couple comments. I had the privilege of going out with Kevin on Tuesday and walking the whole wastewater facility out there. And it's definitely an impressive operation. Learned about how the water that we clean up gets credited on down the line. We talked about the waste solids, where they get hauled off to and stuff. And it is I would recommend anybody who knows nothing about wastewater to schedule a tour of that area, okay? And learn a little bit more about the process. I know I mentioned Kevin, and what's the plant manager?
Libby,
that's right. That I know we have systems that are currently offline, that are locked out, tagged out, that we should quarterly test those to make sure that they're still viable in case we have to switch over. But so other than that, it is a very efficient operation.
It was pretty cool. I think Bill and I went at the same time when we first
Do
started.
they,
Very interesting.
so these companies, they don't use it for fertilizer? Send it to some company that uses it for fertilizer or
not to
anything
my
like that?
knowledge, but
It gets land applied, yes.
Okay.
That's in our RFP, one of our stipulations that it does get land applied. Eventually, not
Oh, okay.
right away.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when I was there, I was like, well, if these guys are taking this and basically turning it into a business, we should get free
And
Fertilizer.
free loading. Yeah.
I think
it gets mixed with other wastewater stuff too. Gotcha.
I think it takes 8 months to a year for human solids to be allowed to be used for fertilizer. Yeah.
Are you saying we should make it a co-op?
no further questions?
No further questions. I know this is a lot less than it used to be.
Yeah.
It was $300,000 a year before they redid the plant, so.
That's good.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
Very good, thank you.
How about, next is the water
Thank you,
main.
Kevin.
Yes.
Water main replacement, right?
Yeah, that is correct. We've got track 337, water main replacement. So the discussion in regards to this is, we put out a bid. We did receive 3 bids, and Miller Pipeline was the lowest and most responsive bidder. This project does go through and replace some older water infrastructure, as well as 187 associated service meters and lines. So this will take out the water service lines from the alleyways and move them to the street, where it's by far more efficient for our maintenance teams to get in there and fix leaks. As well as speaking with the Deputy Director of Utility Admin in regards to the water loss that goes on in that area, we could see a substantial return on this project due to the money savings from the water prevention that we'll be losing, that we could have lost. So that's a good indication of a increase in our water infrastructure projects. So that'll be fantastic.
The only thing so at first as I was reading through the document, it sounded like we were only replacing 187 meters or something like that, 186 meters of pipe. So then I divided the cost of it by that, and I was like, good gravy.
Yeah.
But that's not the case. So my only real comment on that whole package that was presented to us was, it's amazing how different the pricing is on each line item. That makes no sense to me.
Yeah.
As bidders, issue their cost for each item, it's just all over the place.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
The costs on one company are different by far from the next, and it could just be their resources they have available, where they're mobilized.
Or they're contracting out or subcontracting.
Miller Pipeline does have a facility out here in Pueblo West, so that could be something they're utilizing as a resource to lower their cost.
Okay.
Were there any further questions?
Anybody? No? Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Before we go on to the next one, I just wanted to make a comment about the water department. I got an email for a guy that had to deal with the water department yesterday in regards to a leak, and he had nothing but praise for the water department. Said they did a very good job, and they were very helpful, and so I just wanted to pass that on while you guys were here. Thank you.
Good job, guys.
We appreciate that. I'll make sure to relay that to the team. Well, if we're ready to move on, I've got my last line item here, and this is for the approved filter 11 and 12 rehabilitation. We're asking for additional funds. During the investigation process, before they started working on some key factors of the project, they came across issues of concern, and they wanted to bring it to our attention. While they're mobilized, they can move forward, if approved, for additional funds to resolve these issues. One is on filter 11 clarifier. There's some floor patching that looks to be required on the clarifier screen, flexing during use as well. There are some issues with filter 12's clarifier requiring some media removal, and then utilizing the same media. Instead of buying new, they could do that to save us some funds, and then installing some supports for the screen. What they've discovered is that during operations, that screen is flexing, allowing media to pass through in the belly of the clarifier, and that's causing issues with the coatings, which could further down the stream cause issues with the actual structure, and so on and so on. So they put together some proposals, which I attached. I spoke with procurement, and we had a conversation about requesting additional funds while they're here and mobilized, performing the filter side work. That cost is above the 10% contingency that was allotted. And so with the additional funds, I believe I put it in there for $137,000 approximate. So that was well above the additional 10%.
And that's to also replace the media, right? Not to reuse.
So they would reuse the media.
Would it be best to replace? Because
I asked for
that media is super old now, right?
I'm not sure the age of the media. I asked for what the cost for that replacement would be, and we're looking at an additional $56-ish thousand for just the clarifier media. Spiegel Industrial indicated the cost of media has gone up, and from the last time, I believe he said it's about $20,000 more from the last time they did this media on a particular project. So to save us some funds, they could rebag it, screen it, wash it, and reinstall it per the instruction manuals of the manufacturer.
Could they give us an idea of longevity for that media? Was my question. Doing that as opposed to replacing it, but, you know, if we're gonna get another 5 years out of that for.
I'm not sure the age of the filter media on the clarifier side that was installed. I know that filter hadn't been running since I started due to some of those issues that they discovered. What I can say is that I believe the last contractor that did it, and it may have only been a few years since it was installed, may not have followed the appropriate instructions to install it. And so removing it and appropriately reinstalling it would give us some sufficient time.
So if I recall, we haven't really done anything with the clarifiers and filters for 20 years, I thought.
Right. And that's the recommended time frame is about every 20 years, 15 to 20 years to.
I thought it was,
So that's
I thought it was
been,
5 to 10 or something like that.
that media's been in there for 20 years?
I'm not sure. I believe it was removed and replaced. On
Some
filter
of it, I
twelve.
believe, has been replaced. I don't remember if it was filters or clarifiers,
Yeah.
but portions of it have been replaced in about 4 years ago, I want to say. So it's not all 20 years old.
Right.
Okay.
The
So I know
filter-
we've had some water, I don't want to call it quality because I'm sure it's clean enough, but concerns with the taste or stuff of the water in various areas throughout the district. I don't know if that's because of our clarifiers or if it's because of the pipes not being looped. You know, we've had several discussions about it over the years, but I just want to make sure that we're making sure that our water program is strong.
Right. And I agree.
So I don't know if, while they're out here, if $56,000 would be.
Well, that's why I asked if they could give us an idea, if they can clean them and wash them, they're gonna get another 20 years out of them, that's one thing, but if we're gonna look at replacing them in 5 years, then
Right.
we might as well, because it's only
We
gonna
can
get
look
more
at the
expensive.
age of what's currently there and see what they recommend. He did give me a proposal for new media.
Mhm. So, okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think that wouldn't be a bad way to go if it.
I could put together both alternatives.
Yeah, so it probably costs twice as much to bring them out again,
Correct.
Yeah, right?
just for the
Obviously,
media.
Mobilization,
Yeah,
Yeah.
expensive.
yeah.
You asked my question in longevity. The other thing is what's the longevity of media being stored for future use? If the prices are going up, if we were able to store, like we discussed on Tuesday, other items, what's the longevity? Does it lose its potency?
I don't believe
Its
so.
ability to do the same job?
However, I think the
10 years from
infrastructure,
now?
the infrastructure to house the quantity of filter media would be somewhat costly. We don't have it. We'd have to put something in place to store said media.
It can't be stored outside.
Yeah.
I mean,
Not for 20 years. If we were to replace something and have it stored for 20 years, I think we'd have to have a specific infrastructure to hold.
right, yeah, I mean, I don't know what size of loads that the media comes in.
They believe they come in 5,000 pound containers.
Okay.
It's pretty large. And it takes a lot.
I would just be curious if the ability to store that, I mean, we have plenty of Metro District properties. We can utilize some of those for storage, or even put a steel building out there where you're at, so it's readily available. If there's any cost savings in the future by buying in bulk,
Could potentially be.
if that makes any sense at all.
Yeah, it does make sense.
Okay.
So you're gonna talk to them further? And
Yeah, I'll
okay.
speak with project development and Spiegel Industrial and see if they have a recommended is it gonna have longevity if they move forward with this proposal? Or would they recommend getting new media for long-term?
And that was a comprehensive inspection they did?
Yeah, I attached the two proposals on both
Okay.
11 and 12.
Yep.
And this is their recommendation.
Okay. Meaning they inspected everything, and this is
Yeah.
the final?
While they're going through the process of the rehabilitation,
Yeah.
they've found these and discovered issues of concern that weren't part of the original project.
Okay.
And so,
It happened last filter update, I believe, too.
yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
The only thing
Any
I,
additional questions?
the only thing I have is, I think you mentioned it, just if you can get the information on how old those things are versus,
Yeah.
I think that's very beneficial where we stand, because I think they mentioned already, quality out of being able to extend the life versus having something new and just paying for it now.
Absolutely. I agree.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Next is the professional services agreement with Asenza for the indoor pool design.
Carol was on the news the other day.
Thanks.
Did you guys see that?
Yeah, I did.
She was.
I didn't see it.
Either at the news or on the board
Channel
meeting.
11, man.
You're gonna have to share that clip.
Yeah, it needs to be.
Oh, we don't want to do that.
Come on.
Thank you, though.
Come on, Carol.
That's okay.
You did great.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I'll Google it.
Good morning, President Vickers, members of the board. Carol Cosby, Director of Parks and Recreation. In front of you is a PSA with Asenza Architect, as we talked about at the last special meeting that we had, and an agreement for the indoor pool located at Site 2, which is at Assembly and McCulloch Boulevard. In the, Asenza was giving a scope of work, and as we have been evaluating it, again, this was a quick process, so we ran into some holidays and vacation times, so there is some discrepancies between Asenza's proposal and the scope of work, and we are currently working on that with Asenza. We're hoping to have all of that back by noon today so we can update. But there are a few things, and I'm gonna let Sherry touch on that as we were going through that.
So their proposal that they had shared with you all at the last board meeting, it excluded the AVIT component.
I saw that. It's extra, right?
Yeah, and that was not intended, that was included in our scope of work, so that needs to be included. The IECC lighting controls and commissioning, that needs to be included. That's an interior, exterior lighting component of the building. We had also asked for it's FF&E, it's furnitures, fixtures, and equipment. That needs to be included in their proposal. Then what needs to be excluded is
Why would the furnishing needs to be included? I mean, we're not going to move forward with designer furniture. I mean,
no, that's part of the process. We're gonna have new furnishings, fixtures, and equipment in this building because we don't have one yet. We can't move from one to another. So
Right.
they have to include that. We, as a team, would control what was purchased and what was included in the bid packet.
right,
You're gonna
So it
specify
won't be
that.
designer,
Correct.
but it still needs to be included.
in the drawings and
Like a
stuff.
new
like
desk
Yes.
and
Okay,
two
gotcha.
desks in the office,
Okay.
chairs.
All right.
That's basically what those are.
Yeah.
Yes.
The geotech report for that site-specific area was not included. What we had done was just a preliminary geotechnical report for
The whole
site
plot.
selection.
Right.
then what we need now is more of a specific geotech report for the area that will be developed. That needs to be included, as well as a site survey of that specific area.
I think it said because they hadn't done that because we haven't chosen a specific location on the
But we have.
on the lot. We have, okay, so
Well, not on the lot specifically, but they know approximately the size that we are going to be looking at.
mhm.
The site survey, I could understand holding off at this time, but the geotechnical report is necessary for the building design.
Yeah.
Then the,
Can I ask a question here real quick?
hold on one second,
Okay.
and then we'll see if you still have a question. The step 5, the permit and the construction administration, that needs to be addressed because we haven't had a detailed conversation about what components of construction administration they will be performing versus what project development will be performing. They will be involved because they are the experts on the aquatic center and certain components of the building process and the building components. They'll be involved for permitting through the state, through running the plans through regional building and dealing with the comments. Then the contractor will actually pull the building permit. So those numbers need to be looked at. What else am I missing here? Okay, I think that was it. So now you may ask your question.
Yeah, on the geotech. So I have, in practice, what I have been exposed to is that customers have chosen a building that they want, and then the foundation is designed according to the geotech specifications, in accordance with what the building requires for its own. They design the foundation around the building. It's not the reverse of that, and that was kind of what I heard, was that they're going to do a geotech and then to design the building around that. That the building shouldn't have any bearing on the geotech other than the foundation system.
That's correct. The foundation for the building is based on the geotech.
I imagine the pool would be
Yeah, but
a little
it's-
more complicated.
The way it was stated, that I took it, was that they were going to design the building structure around the geotech report.
Oh, no, that's
Not
not
the
what I
That's,
intended. No.
I just wanted clarification. Thank you.
So I'm glad you caught those additional things. The only thing I saw was, it's listed in there, the termination of the contract is July 30th, 2026, but we're not going to be, it's not going to be built by then. And they're supposed to be answering questions and so forth throughout the entire process, correct?
That is correct.
That is correct.
They will be more like a quality control.
That is all they will be.
Right.
This will be
Right.
put out to bid per our procurement policy, and then we'll go with the bidder, but they're there to answer questions if needed. And
Right.
just kind of oversight along with project management. And again, like Sherry had said, we haven't really sat down and talked to them about, project management for us works a lot in these projects, and we just want to make sure we're all on the same page as we move forward. So that's what we're working on right now. Hopefully, we can get all that in today so we don't have to pull this on Monday's meeting. So I'm just giving the board a heads up on that. We want to make sure, going into this agreement, that everything is kosher, we're all on the same page before we sign any agreement. And in order to do that, we have to have that in by today. So we are working with them. If it doesn't all get in today, we're not going to rush it. We will have to put it on the first board meeting in January, which I will not be at that time. However, Kurt Long will fill in and he will know. I've already have plans to be out of state.
The other option is if we decide to have a special board meeting to move it along
To move it
quicker.
quicker, we can do that.
Well, we already have one scheduled for December 11th.
Next week, we do have a meeting scheduled, an internal meeting regarding the,
Committee.
yeah, and the actual building itself.
It's
What
for the
we,
concept plan.
yeah, the conceptual plan, thank you. I could not think of that word. The conceptual plan, just to see what's in the building. So maybe, actually, that will help as they move forward with that concept that we all put together. But we will have that meeting, yes, December
So-
11th.
Two things. Are they asking for an exact site selection with a new geo analysis?
Not an exact, we have selected site 2,
No, I understand that.
but that was all they needed.
Okay, so they don't need an additional exact site.
Before we do the geotech report, we will, but not to do the cost proposal.
You want to know where they're going to drill the samples to see what the ground is like underneath it.
But
So
they
we-
know they're not gonna drill detailed borings throughout the entire site.
Right.
They know it's gonna be a portion of the total acreage.
So I apologize, Carol. I think I was looking at the template that was in the packet, not the actual proposal. When it comes to that date, it's in the template, so my apologies.
Okay.
So, can I ask why we use them to do the geotech instead of just hiring a company to do that and provide the report? I mean, what's the benefit? Because I'm sure they're making money off of the.
Sorry, are you asking going forward or the one that we did?
No,
before?
going forward.
Oh, okay.
I'm just wondering why they get involved in hiring somebody. I'm sure they don't have their own geotech people. They hire somebody. So just a question. Why?
I'm going to have Mr. Winters answer that question for you.
I heard that.
I still have one more comment in regards to the geotech. If they're gonna require a new one for the actual build, where we're actually gonna put the structure,
Sorry.
should we be proactive and go ahead and select that exact site and have that forthcoming?
Part of that selection is going to be dependent on comments we receive from Pueblo County Planning and Zoning and the traffic.
Okay.
whatever.
Remember, we talked about that at the special meeting. We were looking at we saw the blue little square that was on that map. If we put it here, would we have to do so many miles of road this way? Or could we put it this way and maybe cut out some of the road work? So
We gotta wait until that traffic's.
exactly, yes, until we are a little bit further.
I would hope when that survey comes in, we would get notified and we could be proactive on getting that initiated
Yes.
at a faster pace than past, so. All right, thank you. Go ahead, Sean.
Your question again, Director Vickers?
No,
I think I got the gist of it.
I just wonder why Zinza is handling the geotech when they have to hire a engineering firm to do it anyway. Why aren't we just hiring the engineering firm?
So we hired Ascenza to be our aquatic center consultant. They're gonna be turnkey. They're going to build their team to develop the plans and specifications that we're gonna put out to bid to a contractor. So there'll be a certain amount of work that they do internally as the architect. They will bring in some specialty sub-consultants to work with them, whether they're electrical engineers, mechanical, geotechnical, structural, civil. They'll bring in their team, and they are the consultant, and that way they are responsible for every aspect of that project. We, as the district, become users of their final product, and that's really what we want to do. We want to purchase a final product and not be involved in the development or design of that, because then that would lend us to having some liability involved, and that's why they put together their preferred team.
Liability, got it.
So, let me get this straight. They're gonna use the same geotechs as before, right?
My expectation is that they would use the same geotech that they used earlier this year.
Right, so that was $11,500 off of memory, am I correct?
Yes, that was to
For
bore.
both sites?
Yeah, at all, the 2 sites, yes, sir.
Right, okay, so, whose responsibility is it to give them a heads up that, on a later date, once we get the traffic survey to be announced, we need you on site to get that going?
That's what she was saying,
Yes.
that they need to include that in the proposal.
So,
That would be a
just,
citizen.
Okay.
just so
All
I
right, that's-
understand,
I
they're
just
going
wanted
to
to clarify that.
compile their team. This professional services agreement is for design of plans and specs for the building only. We will have some amendments coming forward as a result of going through sketch plan review with Pueblo County and determine, yes, we need a traffic study, yes, we need roadway improvements, yes, we need whatever comes up in that meeting. And the amendments will reflect those additional requirements that we don't know right now.
So my last question, unlike the Fire Station 3, okay, that design's been out there. It's been scaled down. We know what it is. That contract came with a renewal, if I recall, for design correctly?
I believe a contract modification.
Right, yeah. So, have we paid anything to Estenza yet?
On the original contract,
Yes.
we paid for the original concept plan and design. That contract will be terminated at this point, and this contract will be new.
Okay.
We'll
so
enter in a new professional service agreement.
Do we know how much that we paid on that?
Yes, I do. I have it right in front of me.
Okay, so.
And
is there
included in that,
credit?
included in that is also what we did this year, going out and boring the 2 sites that were looked at. So that's all included in the total that we have paid Ascenza as of today. And so when that is terminated, we haven't paid them any more than what we've been billed for. So back in 2021, we went into an agreement with them for, I'm just going to do approximations, $745,000. To date, we have paid them around $456,820 and some odd cents. And that is for what they have done. So we don't, there is no credit there. We haven't paid them any more than they've invoiced us for.
So up to date, this is the amount they're requesting?
This is a, yes, this is
New
a
amount.
total new contract that they're requesting
Thank you.
for, okay,
I understand it.
all right. Just want to make sure that was clear.
And there is some monies that we hadn't spent, technically savings or transfers, so we're,
That can roll over.
that's gonna roll over.
Approximately
Right.
$288,183 and some odd cents.
Yeah, good.
Thank you.
Thank you. But this change, this amount could change based on the new criteria.
This amount will change based on what was excluded and included that shouldn't have been, or should have been.
So on Monday, we're hoping to update everything by the end of today for Monday's board meeting.
Right.
And bring it back to the board for an action item to proceed with the professional service agreement. If we do not have it by the end of today, we will pull this from the agenda.
Okay.
Just so the board is aware of that. We don't want to rush into something and not be on the same page with the designer that we're entering into an agreement with.
Right.
Can you be
I
sure to
want-
highlight the changes for us? Thanks.
I want to correct myself, that wasn't Fire Station 3, that was 1 that I was referring to, so, thank you.
So if you get the changes, Carol, today, could you forward that to us, the board?
It'll be part of the packet we send today. If it-
It's-
if-
it's-
yes, we send.
Yes, it'll go in the
Okay.
packet today
Yes.
with
Okay.
everything updated, because there are some other things that need to be updated as well. The only thing I believe that, well, no, everything will be changed.
Okay.
If the amount changes, everything that has been updated right now will change.
Okay.
But I will update that as soon as possible.
Okay, great. And be sure and include the link to Channel 11 News.
Yeah, sure. I'll work on that one. Absolutely.
I just got lucky. Just got
Are there
lucky.
any more questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Carol.
Thank you, Carol. Thank you too, Sean.
And sure.
And sure.
Yeah, sure. I'm sorry. Yes, sure.
The driving range, lease for the driving range extension from Mr. Ryan Egging.
Yeah, good morning, Board. Brian Egging, Chief Operating Officer. For those that sit on the Desert Hawk Board, you're familiar with this, but background for the rest of the board and for citizens, the golf course is basically asking they'd like to extend where the current driving range is, basically the purposes of that, so they can conduct lessons down there. That would extend into district property. Based upon some internal conversations and conversations with Carl, the discussion was that probably the best way to do that is to formalize some sort of lease agreement. That way we could establish some standards so they don't end up storing broken down golf carts, buildings, et cetera. We'd have some control, especially with the stormwater. You can see there on the diagram, that's the parcel that we're looking at. It's currently unused by the district. That building to the bottom there, that's currently their maintenance shed, and basically they just want to extend that down. So the idea and kind of the
this way, right?
Yep, it would go that way, correct. And basically the point of this discussion is just kind of get some board direction before Carl and his team work on the lease. If you think that'd be the best way. That way we have something formal in place, and 20 years from now, somebody doesn't say, hey, did you ever notice that the golf course is actually on district property? And they're storing old equipment. So we just want to have some control over it, but something basic, just an agreement, because obviously Mike is retiring. This is his proposal, but he's gone in March. So we just want to make sure we have something in place so all parties, everything's understood. So kind of the direction is a lease, basically the way the board wants to go. That was kind of the recommendation of Carl's team. And yet generally 5-year, 10-year, year-to-year. The property, just in terms of acreage, that's about 4 acres there. Probably wouldn't, his plan is to extend it so they can do lessons there, which is kind of a common practice for golf courses. For those not familiar with the course, as you go up the range, that's where the public tee off, practice, and uses it as a range. And then on the bottom end, you would use the same range, but you just would hit the other direction. Currently, the range is too short, so they can't facilitate that because they'd be hitting into each other. So just looking for general direction, how long you want to, if you want to lease as the mechanism to do this, and general guideline for length, what you'd think of in terms of cost on that, or any other specifics you'd like that. Specific things we're looking at is no buildings, stormwater, thank you, right. Stormwater requirements, just so we have some general control on it. They don't build on it, we got stormwater control, they can't store stuff on it. Just that way if there's an issue, we can.
That was gonna be my question, because we had talked about that it originally was sort of supposed to be a detention area, or retention area for stormwater drainage, so we wanted to try to reintroduce that.
Right, because it's not really, the property in itself is not, I mean, it has a value, but it's not really of value to us as it currently sits.
Right.
How is the rest of the golf course property handled? It's they own it, correct?
Pueblo County, correct.
Pueblo County owns it.
Correct.
So so we're going to lease it to Pueblo County?
Yes.
Why don't we just include the parcel into Pueblo County as part of the golf course? I don't understand.
I'll share, I don't know the history of it. There was like 6 or 7 lots identified in the entire golf course for which the district had an option to purchase at one time or not, and elected to do that for this. Whether it was for stormwater, for any reason, I don't know. And to say, or as effectively say, like, if it's going to be used by Pueblo County anyways for the golf course, and it would make sense for them to do it, I don't know if that'd be a bad idea to have a conversation about.
But we purchased it, didn't we?
I think so. I think we exercised an option to purchase is how it was written. So I could follow up and find out exactly, because there was a cost associated with that too.
Oh, there was?
Yeah.
Okay, so we need to research that.
Purchase, and I think they elected to exercise that option.
Yeah, the 2 ways I can't remember exactly how it was worded was that, hey, there was the certain amount of money we put forward towards the golf course, and we had $500,000 worth of properties for which we could elect to purchase, and did that, if we did count to what we already paid, because I think the way it works is if we don't purchase it, we get refunded. So it might work the opposite way. We already paid a significant fee or fund for our contribution, with the expectation that we had the option to purchase this or be refunded the value at that time. So it might be working that
Maybe
way.
we'll check into that.
Yeah.
I would go about it that way. I don't know if we should
don't know if
consider
we
a
should.
lease.
Well, lease as we own it as probably the mechanism for how it exists right now. It's not to say it's the only option. If we don't have any value in that land and it makes more sense for them to own it, it could be give us money back.
Okay.
If that's how it worked.
Okay.
It was a very funly written IGA.
I can only imagine. Well, I've seen it, I think.
You have a current estimate of value of that section?
So it's listed on the county assessor page at 112,000 for the 4 acres.
So if the golf course is wouldn't the enterprise buy it?
I would think.
Yeah, we'll have to look. Yep.
Or we would give it and then they would owe us, just like they owe us on the water.
On the water.
But
And
it would be a note on them.
So any of the lands we don't purchase, I do remember in the IGA, it states that becomes added to the debt owed to us, so it works that way. I'll see if I can't find it quick, but it might.
I'm just
might
wondering if
follow
a
up.
lease would be more of a hassle than it's worth.
Yeah, true. Yeah, we're just looking for options before we
Considering the
pay
fact
legal.
that, I mean, they have to move forward with that water irrigation plan, and that's gonna basically utilize every ounce of income that they have, net
Yeah.
revenue, so, I don't see us getting paid for a lease either.
Yeah, in internal discussions, the lease amount was like minuscule.
A
Just-
buck a year?
Yeah, well, we had 100, but
Oh.
yeah. Yeah, but the idea was, yeah, it wasn't supposed to be a burden because that's really not the idea or anything anybody's
Just
trying to
to-
achieve.
just control what we-
Yes, and in theory, it should increase some of the revenue because it should increase lessons, and so that
Correct,
helps
correct.
everybody.
Help.
So we don't want to be
Yeah.
punitive and stop it from that sense.
Right.
Okay.
For reference, there were, it looks like 6 property names: Lake Village, Club Village, Village de Sol lots, hold number 17 lots, maintenance shop lot, track 365, parcel D easement as part of that. Total of it was 1.28 million. We have exercised options to purchase 3 of those for 423, 300, and 100,000. So I imagine it's one of those. So that's probably the figure we'll have to figure out.
Is that 17, isn't that whole 17? Pretty close to the end, isn't it?
I thought it was hole 17, but that wasn't one we actually purchased and it had expired. So that shouldn't be one that's, if that's in our inventory and it shouldn't be, that brings up a new
Yeah, well, we
question.
better find that out too.
What, do we know Carl's reasoning behind wanting to control?
Carl is on now, just so you know.
Oh, hey, Carl, sorry, bud. Carl? Nope.
He's muted.
Okay. So what is your reasoning behind wanting to do a lease versus give them the land and them owe us the money down the road?
Site control mostly. If you want to sell them the property and they have the ability to buy it, you certainly can do that. But it seemed to me that we're still looking to Desert Hawk for money for irrigation water that we've provided to them over the years. And
We don't own the golf course.
so I'd like to have the ability to have a little bit of extra control over this particular site. But that was just my knee-jerk reaction. I don't have strong feelings either way.
I agree with Carl.
I agree totally with Carl.
We don't, I mean, to me, the golf courses, we don't own it. Now we want to just give them more land to hopefully, I don't know. I think we keep the lot, lease it to them.
Okay.
That's fine. You bet. You agree?
Without the lease agreement, I mean, that turns over the control to the county. They could put whatever they wanted down there.
Well, to the
They could change
enterprise,
their
the
mind.
golf course enterprise.
Yeah. And I'm on the golf course committee with you.
Yep.
Which is on the 17th, 10:30 a.m.
Did you have something to add, Carl? I thought he said something.
That's all I had. The only question.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll move forward with pursuing a lease. It'll probably be removed from an action item on Monday, unless Carl pulls a rabbit out of his hat. I don't think that he'll have a lease done by then, so.
Okay.
All right,
Thank you, Brian.
We'll beat Sunday during the Broncos game, right?
Is that a dig?
Matters relating to the deed for 658 Spalding by Mr. Matt Lund.
Good morning, President Vickers, members of the board. Matt Lund, Director of Business Administration. Before you, you have an item that was brought to our attention in the later part of this year. Back in 2017, there was an agreement entered into between the district and the parent company of CCOM, who provides fiber services and phone service throughout to different entities in the district. That agreement was to transfer them the land at 658 East Spalding with economic incentives built in that were designed to incentivize them towards employment regulations, so they were to bring us new jobs, essentially, into the community. And that was to be tracked year over year, and for every year they satisfied those conditions, they would get a credit towards the value of the land. Once it was satisfied, we would hand over the deed of trust for the property. So they have this, of course, bridged over the time of COVID and a lot of different personnel changes on both sides. So we had no firm awareness of this until the latter part of this year when we were approaching the final terms of it. So that's your setup. We've been in contact with CCOM. They provided us their their employment records for the years that this was applicable, which was 2019, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and 25. And they did show in their employment records an underperformance in calendar years 2019 and 2020. And we calculated out with the terms of the agreement and the interest that would be paid to the district, and that total came to $17,000 and et cetera, as you've seen in your staff report. So that was our response to CCOM to cure that agreement, at which point we would be able to hand over the deed of title for the land. And there is a section in the agreement that was entered into in 2017 that gives the board the ability to not collect that money or do whatever you'd like to up to that amount. So the firm amount is that 17,000 number. And in communication with CCOM, they did option to present a counter offer, citing, first of all, the COVID-19, of course, which was rampant in 2020. So they feel like that might warrant some consideration for exemption for that year's numbers. And then waiving the interest portion for what they owed from 2019 because this was lost in translation until it was rediscovered this year by both parties, to be honest. So that is their counter proposal. I think I've laid it out pretty well. If you have any further questions, let me know. But we'll be looking for board direction on if you'd like to accept their countered offer, which is in the 5,000 range, or if you'd like us to hold to what we can justify, the 17,000. I'll open it up for questions.
So they're claiming that they had a shortfall in 2020.
2019 and 2020, correct.
Okay.
Oh, I should add, hold that thought. I should add that the initial terms as far as the economic incentives that they were supposed to provide for with their employment, they far over exceeded that in aggregate over these 7 years. So they're way over what the district was looking for in the first place. But to those specific years, in those times, they were under.
Okay. So you're saying what we have is a cost of $17,000. What they countered with is $5,000. Or
Per the terms of the agreement, that's the strictest interpretation, yes.
Or is there the potential of modifying the agreement to give them an additional year to make up for the...
They've already made up for it. They've gone above and beyond in aggregate. They're above and beyond by their numbers. They've paid $1.1 million in wages above the committed minimum.
Okay.
So they're way over as far as...
What was the committed minimum?
It was 75,000. Well, okay, so I'd have to crunch that give me a second. The agreement was for 5 additional employees over their numbers when it was signed. So that was 5 employees every year for those 7 years at an average or above wage level of $42,508. So whatever that comes out to. And you crunch that out, they've come in $1 million over that.
So they've really fulfilled the intention of the agreement.
They have fulfilled the intention of the agreement, yes.
They play nice,
Yeah.
take the counter.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
That puts things in perspective.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
don't
thank
think
you.
we
Triggered
should
that. I was like, oh,
charge
I
them
got to add
interest.
that part. That's relevant.
Okay.
Anybody have thoughts? Do you want to move forward with collecting money or letting them off the hook?
Or in the middle, because they have,
Or in the
they have
middle,
said they'll pay,
They
$5,000.
need an answer today, what direction we're going?
Well, we're gonna be before you for action on Monday night. So whatever you tell me now, I'm gonna formalize to get into the packet for Monday.
I mean,
I'd say take the counter.
If they're willing to do that.
what was that? Sorry.
I'd say take the counter, take their counter offer, just enclose it.
And that number is $5,357.15.
Get something out of it.
Well, we've got more out of it in all sense of perspective, but if they've agreed to that, then I think we should go with what they've agreed upon. I mean, if they've gone above and beyond what was required of them, I'm also with, but if
Give
that's
it-
the,
Yeah, it was written up in such a way that we would be tracking it year over year to keep an eye on it, but really the intent, to Brian Axworthy's point, Director Axworthy's point, is that they've satisfied the intent, I feel personally. But representing the district, we are within our rights to claim the full 17, whatever it is, yeah.
I'm good with their counter.
So we got 3 options. Give it to them, take their counter proposal, or ask for the 17.
Correct.
I'm good with the option, I mean, they're willing to pay that.
Yep.
Okay, I'll move forward with that direction, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Okay, now we're at board meeting schedule discussion and length of board meetings.
Yeah, maybe.
Work sessions.
I'm indifferent. I will go with whatever y'all decide.
You want me to start?
So there wasn't a listed person here. I can speak a little bit to it if there's any questions or thoughts towards it, and share feedback or perspective or perceptions we've had. But it will be a conversation for the board as you've had experience, and we haven't had an opportunity to exactly review or share that. So,
What do you? It's all good.
I was going to offer. Do you want me to start, or would you like to?
I'd be curious what you guys think of
Sure.
the current setup. Yeah.
I'll be honest. I think we have mixed results when it comes to the feedback of how we've been exposed and experiencing it. The benefits and advantages: 1 meeting a month with a work session preceding by 1 week. The actual meeting for action is an effective model to keep things moving and to be able to get hey, we discussed an item one time at length, as today, is a good indicator for. And then Monday be able to action pretty rapidly. If you think about our last actual meeting, that long one we had where it was the first one in November on the Monday, that was about 2.5 hours of public hearing, but it was 30 minutes of action items. Like, we breezed through the rest of it, and then there was the executive session. So in the intent of being able to have a full discussion, act on it, and move forward and carry that direction forward, that's been a positive. As far as the time involved with the board meetings, there's a mixed result towards it. The idea that is seriously reducing the overall month's impact of time is a positive. We are getting that item to the board meeting, we're getting it to the board, we're discussing it, we're acting on it, and then we're following through with direction. That's good, and I think, and I'm going to hopefully assume that a positive is that we're getting the packets a week early or 5 days early to the board to be able to review and help for a much, I think, more focused discussion when we come to that. Those are positives, but the current schedule, the negative side of that has been that since we just introduced it and it is not permanent, and it was essentially at the end of September, we said October, November, December we're doing it, that caused an immediate reaction for us to have to figure out what that timeline looks like, how we have to get things in. The most notable one would probably be this one, where we had challenges because of the Thanksgiving, the holidays, where I remember sharing that normally it would be the 28th of November. We would have our packets in, but because that was a holiday, it had to be the 26th of November. And as we saw with Essenza, a lot of it was back and forth with folks who might be on holiday, an external party, and relying on them to make sure they meet our deadlines can become challenging. And I do know that executive session items, as we're figuring out what goes on discussion, what goes for discussion action, what goes for executive session, there's a challenge with that as well. Some of the questions about it is if it was maintained or if it modifies slightly to any alterations towards it, is can we repair that over time or can we address those? Or will we see a continued need for the potential for special meetings or for situations where we're really waiting for some kind of board action or guidance and we don't have another way to do it except wait for another month. So that's probably a good synopsis of it. It's reducing workload because it's half the meetings, if not a quarter of the meetings, and it's finding it in a way that's making it more efficient. And I think it's getting the packets to the board faster or longer out to be able to discuss and be able to collect things. But it is right now a little bit challenging because we're not used to it. And the question is, will we actually adapt or will it continue to be a struggle? And then I don't know if we asked for senior leaders as far as their experience or exposure to it, and if there's anybody else who hadn't had a chance and welcome to share their thoughts, open to it if the board would be open to that as well.
Yeah, do they have something?
Would you like me to read what senior leadership submitted?
Sure. I think so.
Yes, so this wasn't included in the packet because I sent out an email yesterday asking senior leadership to answer 3 questions for me. The 3 questions were, what is your feedback for the current board meeting schedule and how do you feel it compares to the previous schedule? And the responses I got was that it was initially a positive on the change to the meeting. It does have its merits, but it can also have some heavy lifts to hit all on one board meeting. Especially for like economic development when it comes to executive session and things like that. But then as far as others that responded, they said one board meeting and 1 work session is good. We can all adapt as long as it's on our schedules and our calendars. I feel personally as a senior leader that it flows more smoothly to have one where it's a discussion and then an action. Just from when I started and the meetings seemed to go on for hours and hours and hours to now like the discussion meeting being the longer and then the action can actually make it a lot more smooth and a lot more quick. From somebody who has a sitter at home, the sitter could go home a lot earlier than having somebody stay the night, which is always nice. The second question was, how has the new schedule versus previous schedule impacted workload and productivity, not just for you, but for your staff? And one of our senior leaders said the extra time in between meetings is genuinely helpful to focus on projects rather than constantly bouncing between projects, board meeting prep, projects, board meeting prep. And then another one responded with, it's allowing there to be more prep for the meetings, especially with the employees that are providing the backup documentation that is needed for the meetings. And then as for me, I'm doing the minutes, so I'm having to go back and listen to the meetings and then do the minutes. That becomes a whole nother workload on top of it, which has been helpful for me. And then also I have projects not just that are board related, but others, and it's helped me be able to squeeze those types of things in and help senior leaders. The third question was, how has the new schedule versus previous schedule impact you and your staff's time in regards to attendance for the meetings and work sessions? One of our senior leaders says, whereas before we might only need to attend every other meeting or so, such as every 3rd meeting, recently it has seemed that since a month goes by each time we're sort of obligated to present, then we end up sitting through a whole double length meeting, which does take more time, because it seems like the discussion items don't actually turn into just action items. The one suggestion is that we go back to how it was years ago, where it was no work sessions at all and you just have a meeting on the 2nd and 4th Monday of the month. Then as far as another senior leader said, that it's been noticed that the impact is lighter because the employees aren't having to come to as many meetings, but it's still going to be impactful to the senior leaders no matter what, because we're here for all of the meetings anyway. Personally, 4 meetings a month is a lot because I'm doing minutes for these meetings too. So just from a senior leader, doing 4 sets of meeting minutes for each meeting and then having to do the board packets and everything, it does create a lot of work, because I know as senior leaders, we get together, we have to pull all the information for this, and then this will change before the Monday meeting, and we have to get it published before the end of the day. So I do feel that the 4 meetings a month is a lot on our senior leaders and our employees, just from my personal opinion.
Just a question on the minutes.
Mhm.
Can't AI transcribe minutes?
You can't help that it's going to tell you exactly what each person is saying. As we've noticed with some of the things, I go back and I'll listen and I'll catch somebody's name wrong because of the voice that I'm hearing on the recording. When you try to do it with AI, which I have tried, it says that Bree is saying all of it.
Oh, gotcha.
So
makes sense.
Yeah, we do use AI for quite a bit. If this one being done here, we put admit all for the note taker there, it would probably say Bree had said everything here because she's the one signed in for it. So we have run into challenges, but we do try to make those things happen.
And I like to capture your guys' votes exactly as you stated, or if like there's certain things you want changed in the minutes, I dictate specifically what was asked to be changed. Or if there's multiple votes that are taken on something, like we're okay as long as this is taken out. Those types of things are going to be always captured with AI. So it is just a lot. Because when these meetings take, I'm just going to say it, 4 hours or more, I'm listening to the 4-hour meeting and doing them all over again. So that takes up half my day.
I don't like having one action meeting a month. I think our work sessions have morphed into something more than what we had anticipated when we decided to try to do work sessions. And I can see the having department leads have to come to these on Friday and then they're here Monday. Yeah, I can see that takes them out of their work schedule, takes them out of things they need to be doing. So I would like to see 2 action meetings a month, whether or not we do one work session or we don't do any. I mean, for 45 years, they did 2 meetings a month without work sessions. So that's kind of what I think. I think the action, sometimes with one a month, it just leaves things hanging for too long of a period for everybody. And we do end up having special meetings. The other thing is, if you rely on special meetings, if you stay with 1 meeting a month and you rely on special meetings, you now have 5 people that you have to try to coordinate to come to a special meeting, which when we already have them booked for, the 2nd and 4th Mondays, those are planned, and you get attendance. So I'm in favor of the 2 action meetings. The work sessions, you can modify them or change them or do away with them.
Just to add,
for me,
the clarity of the work session was introduced because I think you mentioned like the intent of that work session was to reduce the time in the action meetings on those evenings. So the 4 hours now, as I think Bree said, can take place these Fridays. If the discussion action does, it might, and we go to the 2, it might include those longer ones in the evening, just as the work sessions being removed might cause. But to the point of them existing and reiterating conversations and topics, that challenge exists too.
Yeah.
That was not to push for anything, that's just that.
And we still go over the same thing, it seems like we do it, and, I enjoy the conversations, and it does spur ideas and different thoughts, but we end up, seems to me, rehashing the same thing quite a bit over and over, and then new things come up even at the meeting. So I don't know if it's really that much of a benefit, the way that it's being done now. I like 2 action meetings, however you can work that. So. Mr. Pasternak?
Yeah, I don't know, it's a tough one. I think it's easier to concentrate when you're doing 4 or 5 hours, daylight hours, than 10 o'clock at night, especially when the executive session is the last thing, and oftentimes is, 10 o'clock at night, harder to concentrate, and arguably we'll just say they're important, at least just as important as the other items, on one hand. And then on the other hand, it does feel a little disconnected. I don't know exactly how to quantify that, but just disconnected on just the current setup. So I guess one question I have is, what happened to the spreadsheet that you put together of the?
Oh, the actual
other,
show, the model? I don't know if it's part of
the other
packet or not.
models. Are we? Because I thought previously the intention was do this one, then do another one.
So
January, February, March.
I don't.
Wasn't
The
that
different
a trial
trials.
thing?
I think there were other trial options at the time. So there was the first discussion we had where there were multiple different ones and asking, you know, what was the board's feeling. That morphed in the conversation into just what we did these past 3 months as we're going to trial these for the next 3. And at the end of it, reassess whether we want to continue that permanently, continue trialing that, pick a different trial, or revert back to the to a meeting or not.
Gotcha.
I apologize. I don't think we included in this, but a question after hearing some of the board's comments and thoughts, if it's okay to discuss it, would be, are you open to the idea of, let's say you're saying having the meeting hours here during the day is of value, and you're saying that, you know, the 2 meetings a month is preferred one. Just an example, not like, is there a potential where trial is we, lack of a better term, ditch the Monday meetings, the Fridays become 2 a month instead of the Mondays. We open up a new conversation about accessibility of the public, but to that point, after hearing everybody's thoughts, it may help us spark okay, well, maybe the next couple months are revert back or stay with, or we produce a new trial after we have some time to be able to stick it together.
Would that be beneficial to change the meetings to Friday during the day?
I would love to get people's feedback on it. Initially, I think yes, from what we have heard, because to that point, one of the big challenges of the Monday night meetings is exactly, I think you said it well, Director Pasnick, people get tired. If you're at 10 o'clock talking about an executive session item and we're going through a cycle of trying to figure it out and minds aren't as sharp and we've gotten tired, it's human. It's not that it's not expected of us, but it's a realistic human impact. Having it during the day when it's something where people are fresh and it's not as bad if we're in a 3rd or 4th hour, because now we're in lunchtime, not evening time, there's a benefit to that.
I guess that's the extent of my thoughts for now.
Mr. Potter?
I just think that it seems like there's a long period of time where gaps, there's just a long gap between our work session and our actual action board. I thought that's what the whole Friday was going to be for anyway, was to set up, even if we did one Friday and then the next Monday, the 4 meetings, we get all this stuff hashed out on the Friday. That way Monday happens. And yes, there are certain things that get added to sometimes, but I think it just seems like it's a long period of time that
Between the actual action meeting to the next action meeting?
Right.
Gotcha.
It's just, with all the information that we have to gather for the time that we have missed, it's like, and then I'm also, some of us have full-time jobs as well, and so we're trying to work those balances in, and we're having the same issues. I mean, you guys work for the district and trying to balance your time. We have full-time jobs, and I'm trying to balance that time with our meetings. And then there's just a long gap in between. I was under the impression that we do a work session and then another work session and then an action item. So it was based that I don't know why I thought that was in my head, but in my head was we did a work session, we discussed the stuff, do another work session, and then that next Monday we do an action item. So we've got 2 times that we discuss certain situations, say, hey.
Yeah, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. To your point, I think that actually was discussed in a sense of like the work session, the conversation. One of the benefits of being able to do the Friday and the Monday in the work session was that we're able to send a packet much sooner because we're able to focus and be able to do that. So it's almost like, it's not an official work session by any means, but you're getting the packet, able to review, digest, and then the work session action. But I think that's, to your point, and I don't think you're crazy about thinking we talked about that. I think we did have a conversation around that. It wasn't what was decided, but I do think we did talk about it.
I think I misunderstood the decision, but I just think there's too long of a period. How we can we talked about hybriding something. Maybe we can work something where it's more manageable. Maybe 2 action items a month in a work session, something like that. I'm not sure. I just think there's too long of a period of time between each meeting, because some of this stuff gets lost in translation.
Yeah, it's also tough if you miss one, because they're back to back, right? So if somebody misses
A weekend, essentially.
yeah, a weekend, essentially, they're gone for 2 months, basically, is what it
Yeah, 2 months.
literally amounts to, is 2 months, so it's kind of,
So the other
that's
thing
another
with the
challenge.
Fridays, that was kind of designed around the directors that had the days off. Okay, so if you move that to a permanent time, you may get new directors that don't have that off. So I think that's why meetings have historically been held in the evenings, because people were generally off and could attend them more regularly. If we start trying to tailor daytime meetings around the board now,
That's
when
gonna
a new board
change.
gets elected, there's a chance they have no opportunity to be here on a Friday.
Yeah, I would say it probably works both ways, because there are people who have indicated they can't do the Monday meetings, and therefore they didn't apply. We had somebody drop out specifically because they had been in conversation at the time. I would say it's probably more likely. The normal schedule is typically 8 to 5, but it does end up affecting anybody who has a different schedule.
Yeah, and that's a decision you make when you're running.
Yeah. That works both ways.
What do you mean?
Whether the decision of the person coming up saying it's a Friday meeting or if it's a Monday meeting, they would make that decision running.
Well, I think you're gonna eliminate a lot more people that have to be there during the day than in the evenings.
Good, it just depends on the schedule.
Depends.
Can I ask you the same question? Can I ask Director Potter the same question I asked you the other day? Because I'm curious, and for every board member.
What'd you ask? Yeah.
In theory,
It's been a lot of
hypothetical,
questions.
we have right now 24 meetings a year or 12 meetings a year. Those action items carry. We have things that we need to discuss and be able to act on. And the board needs to be the ones to act on those, especially when it's either a not delegated authority or specifically inscribed with their authority. If a hypothetical situation existed, we knew everything we needed this year to be acted on, or 2026, and we could just prepare that for the January meeting, and we could just do that, and maybe it's an 18-hour meeting, it's gonna be long, but it's everything we needed to do. Would you feel, having had all the time to discuss all the action items we need in that year and act on them in that January, still feel like we would have to meet? Or do we feel like that we would act on those things?
There's no way.
I'm not, no,
That's-
I'm not
that's what I-
proposing
that's what I told him.
I'm not, let me clarify. I'm not proposing that as in we're gonna adopt a model like that. It's to test a theory of why we feel we need more meetings.
So I don't know if this, I'm sort of piggybacking on it because I just countered my own point that I made, which is that, in my head, as you were saying that, is that, okay, if I miss one meeting, like the way it's set up right now, that's a big deal, but it's also harder personally to, like, inevitably we're gonna take vacation, so inevitably we're gonna miss one of those meetings. I've not missed a meeting yet. I would hate to miss a meeting, and eventually I probably will, but I'm more likely to miss more meetings if
there are more meetings.
If there are more meetings, basically, so, I don't know, I just wanted to share that, I guess.
My turn?
Your turn.
All right, first of all, I want to go back to the way it was. 2 work sessions, two meetings. Second of all, there's too long of a disconnect span or opportunity to address things, okay? And then, third of all, the packets that we received prior to this November, December trial period were cumbersome at best with just having 2 work sessions and 2 meetings. Now, it's even more cumbersome for myself. And I don't know about my...
I mean the 583 pages?
Yes. And then if you're on a committee, like the Civic Center Admin Design Committee, right, that complicates things. And then you're on the golf course committee, that complicates things. Okay? So I'm finding I got less time to stay focused on what needs to be, that requires my attention, because we all have lives. But I had more time before the 1 work session, 1 meeting a month. And I could actually work around it a lot better. So I would like to go back to 2 work sessions, 2 meetings a month.
The only thing I'd share, I don't know if we've actually looked at it, I don't think the packets have gotten larger. I think, or at least not substantially.
Depends on the topic.
It always depends on the topic. We had, even in the 2 meetings and the work sessions, we've had 400, 500, 600 page packets. And if you have 2 meetings in that month, that means you now have 800, 1,000, 1,200. And to be fair, I'm not saying that that's going to continue, because these past 3 months being the holidays, they may have been less than what other action items are, but I just want to share, I don't know if the packets have gotten bigger because of it. And we've had conversations about packets in general, which we'll talk about. But.
Yeah, maybe there's ways to.
That's okay.
So
I'll look
give
at
you
it.
an example.
Streamline some of those.
We have items that come up as an action, I mean, not an action item, discussion here in the work sessions. By Monday, some of those are dropping off, right? So we had the discussion, the last work session, about the COA and the 17 articles that were adopted by the COA, not being ratified by the board. And then it wasn't there on Monday night's agenda. And I don't recall any discussion about removing that from the agenda, it just wasn't there. I expected to discuss it.
That was a strategic discussion, so it wouldn't have had an action item associated with it. And I think we did provide the resolutions, didn't we? I'll double check to see if we had, but
Guys,
that was never intended to go.
I think we agreed that those articles need to be ratified.
I don't think that's,
But there
to the
was,
point of the
I think-
review process for it, yes, that is a process going on, but that wasn't a.
I think it was going to be included in a consent agenda,
huh?
correct?
Right.
Wasn't that the decision?
We were gonna have some input on that.
Yeah, I'll have to double check to see where we left off for it, 'cause
Yeah,
I know
it
we
was the
provided
consent
it.
agenda.
Yeah.
And then we just had the mechanism to be able to do it would be the consent, but I think it's still under legal review as far as which ones are concerned. I don't think it was a what I'm saying right now is I don't think we translated Friday into a Monday action item,
Right.
it should come off.
Yeah.
But I totally forgot about it Monday night, after an executive session, 4 hours of meeting, and then followed up with an executive session. We all got out of here, what, about 10:30, 10:35, right? So, I wanted to bring that up. Why didn't we have that discussion? But I actually didn't notice it was not on the agenda until I sat down and I pointed it out to Rodney. Because I had told him about it over the phone, what discussion we had on that Friday, because he wasn't present.
We could probably talk about it and get to the bottom of it, that's just, share it. That's probably something we'll have to follow up on, not part of this.
Right.
Right, but I'm
Specifically
just
as an
saying
example.
that there's a lot of things that we cover that we never come back to, full circle.
The intent
Okay.
of having the discussion action is that you can complete it in that section. And if there was any follow-up for, hey, there was a thing we'll have to come back to, obviously it's our responsibility as staff to prepare and bring that back, so.
And there's a difference between the discussion action piece and the strategic discussion. Strategic discussion is more brainstorming. You bring up an issue or a thought, and then you talk about it and figure out what possibly might be the best way to move forward, or what are some options to move forward. It doesn't lead directly to action the next Monday or whatever. It could lead to a further discussion item on an agenda down the road, but it's not going to be right away, per se.
Okay. But
That
either
was
way,
something new that we
I feel
started.
that the 2 work sessions and the 2 meetings a month are adequate, on top of the other committees that we've already volunteered for.
Just to be clear though, more meetings then, more. Says, I guess, if I can ask a question, how does having 4 meetings a month as opposed to 2 reduce the experience with the committees and the work?
I think
What
it
are
has
you-
to
what
deal
are
with
you-
the.
what are you asking
I think
for?
I think it has to deal with the gap between time. That's my biggest issue is I feel like there's a lot between the last meeting to the next meeting that we have. Unless I'm missing something, it just seems like there's a lot of time missed in some of the things. Again, with me having to have a full-time work schedule, and I understand that, you know, this was part of the process of being elected, but at the same time, balancing that time frame from my job to this, I mean, it takes a lot of effort as well. But having that whole time frame missed from just one session versus a 2, even if we just change it to a Monday and we discussed it the Monday and then do a work session on a Friday and do another session, something to where you can hybrid this thing to where it's a little bit more feasible, because I think it's just the gaps. And like you said, if we miss one of those meetings, that's 2 months that
Too
we're
much of a
out.
disconnect.
And I think having those repetitive meetings helps us stay more fresh in managing the district's, not managing, managing the
Yeah.
district's actions and discussions, things that we need to be purview of. And it keeps it fresh in our mind, where you have a whole month gone, some of this stuff kind of drifts away because other things are being put in the place of, because we have our lives that we live. And having those meetings, those frequent meetings, helps us stay fresher in our minds.
Yeah,
That's just mine.
That makes sense as far as the continuity of like why one meeting at the beginning of the year to solve everything isn't solving the problem of feeling like you're connected. What I'm, I guess, driving towards and trying to understand the question is, I don't think meetings necessarily are always the tool to be able to do that. For instance, if there's not an action item for, let's say, we had a November 2 meeting schedule and we got all our action items taken care of at the first meeting, we didn't have anything for the second meeting, we wouldn't have that connection point either otherwise. But it sounds like we would still want some form of connection with the district, some way to be able to re-engage on topics that may not be ready for action, but to be able to discuss and understand, or to be able to just be able to share with operational managers and department heads and be able to connect in some way. Why I'm asking these questions is to drive towards, as I'm hearing the feedback, what we can propose to go into, because on Monday, we're gonna have to decide what the schedule will look like. I'm not sure from what I'm hearing if the 4 meetings a month, the 2 work sessions and the 2 board of directors regular action item meetings is actually meeting what everybody's expecting, so I'm asking questions to be able to interpret.
Okay, so there's a difference between asking questions and debating, okay? I gave you my opinion, 2 work sessions, 2 meetings, works fine for me. Okay?
Okay.
What further discussion or expression from me do you need to get my opinion?
Well, I would hope, I'm asking a question to clarify because you're as one board member, not the board.
You're exactly
So as we
right.
talk with all 5.
And that's why I said me.
Do you mind
I
if I
didn't say anything about the other board members. I
Okay.
specifically spoke of myself.
All right.
So let me just recap. I said I was going to stay out of it, but we have like 4 options on the table, and there's 5 of us. So we've got A, stick with the current system, which is 1 work session followed by 1 action meeting per month. 2, we have go back to the old system, where we have 2 board meetings, no work sessions.
Or a hybrid, but yeah, I mean, I'd rather do that than not.
3, we have the previous method. So we have 2 work sessions, each followed by an action meeting. And then 4, we have Friday meetings, 2 of them per month, both discussion action. Is that what I'm getting at? Or is that what I
During the day.
understand? During the day,
Yeah, I think mine was the same as Bill's, but on
Fridays, instead of Monday nights, so we're not working
Friday night?
18-hour days.
Friday, like right now.
For an action meeting.
Yeah, for an action meeting.
No,
Yeah.
discussion and action. It was
Discussion
essentially
and action.
Oh,
The old
yeah.
model into the new
Yeah.
day.
I mean, as far as like a model, I think that if we were gonna change it, which I don't even know, I'm still on the fence, but if we were to change it, I think I'd be most in favor of Bill's, which is just 2 meetings a month.
No work sessions.
Yeah.
On Mondays or Tuesdays, not
Yeah.
Fridays?
The time,
Mondays.
whatever, I mean, I guess, I'd be more in favor of probably like now, but I get your point as far as the future board members. And I don't know how you would, disseminate to them prior to them applying, or being nominated, whatever, that it could change.
Well, you could certainly state that in the, when they, sign up, but you will definitely eliminate a large portion of people that can run. I know there are people that are off, but there are a lot more people off in the evenings than there are during the day. I would be opposed to a strictly daytime action meeting.
So those are our
two
four
things.
options. Did I
Two
summarize that
things.
correct?
Two things. We're familiar with the past work sessions and board meetings prior to November. Now we're familiar with one work session, one board meeting a month. These other ideas we have not tested yet. If you want to test those, trial period, I'm all for it. And I'll give you my opinion where I sit then, once we get through that trial period. But I can't hypotheticalize on a Friday day or just one meeting, no,
2 meetings a month,
two
Friday.
meetings a month with no work sessions. I don't have that crystal ball. I have to experience it.
What if we did
Okay, so my opinion is solely based on two things that we are aware of. One meeting, one work session a month, or 2 meetings, 2 work sessions a month. So that's my answer. Currently, as it stands, I like the older way prior to November's trial period that we just experienced.
So it sounds like we're all leaning towards going with 2 discussion action meetings per month.
What if you made one Monday night and one Friday?
Still gonna have the same problem.
I'd
Eventually,
say-
you're gonna have the same problem, and it doesn't change anything.
It does
Still
in
have
terms of
meetings.
sleep for those.
Yeah, I get that, guys, but this has been, I don't want to say you can't change something, but this has been a tried and true experience for most governmental bodies, small bodies. They meet in the evenings, and they've done it for a long time. I get the workload, and
I don't know if they meet for 5 hours.
some of them do. But maybe we need
Let's
to work
just be frank.
work on streamlining that process rather than changing the meetings. Work on streamlining. There's
That's
a
why we
lot,
have
but
the
you
work
know,
sessions.
when I was on the board previously, we got a packet every 2 weeks of printed material in a 3-ring binder that was that thick. We got it on Friday night and we had a meeting Monday night. Staff had to prepare that. They had to print it.
Hole punch it.
Hole punch it. There was a lot involved. And we covered just as many topics as we do now. So with electronic, and being able to just move things back and forth, once it's built, I think, in my perspective, it's a whole lot easier than printing and changing pages in a book to make changes.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, I wasn't trying to shut you down, but to be fair, they haven't experienced those 2 meetings Monday nights like you and I did when,
Oh, right.
when we were. I mean,
Well, that's what
I
I'm
think
advocating
we were there for 11:30 one night.
We've gone after midnight.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the whole reason why we wanted to break it out to begin with. You guys haven't experienced that, so to go back to that for a few months and see what it, see what it leads us to. I think every board is going to be a little different. There's some boards that are going to be, they're going to show up at a meeting and everything's going to be yes, and that'll be fine. Then there's going to be some boards that have discussion and would like answers and clarification, and that's what has led to the longer meetings, to be quite frank. I'm one of those people that likes to ask questions and get some answers, so I'm part of the cause for that. But again, you guys haven't experienced it.
That's the thing. And they're
So-
new, so they're for the first few months, you're trying to acclimate to what's going on, and
Yeah.
I think there's a
January,
time
February,
when the
March.
ship rights itself and things start to move a little bit better, because we didn't have all meetings last till 11:30. We did.
No, we didn't.
We did have some. When we were working on the SDA pipeline project, we had meetings that went till 1:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
I'm for trying out new stuff, but it has nothing to do with that. And whatever works, I think we come to that. I'm not comfortable with what we're doing right now. I think more discussion is better personally. If we have the option to discuss these items and to push it to another meeting to say, hey, we'll push this off to the next discussion meeting. And then the things that are actually actionable, it's like, all right, let's move this forward to the next, on the action meeting. But I'm just not comfortable with the way we're doing it right now.
Okay. Let's go back to Monday nights. We'll do that for 3 months, do the trial. Everybody get a feel for it.
And no work session?
No work session,
So you're talking about 2 meetings?
2 meetings a month,
No work session?
Monday nights.
Let's try it out. I mean, it's just like you
So
buy
how
a
that-
pair of earbuds or a piece of crap. That's my
So,
experience.
so how that works
The next
is,
one's better.
so one week, one Monday, we'll have discussion on an item. That following,
Monday.
that following
2 Mondays
two,
later.
or 2 Mondays, 2 Mondays from then, you'll be taking action on that item. So you have technically that
It's kind of like a work session.
discussion, from that discussion
Got
time,
it.
that first Monday. You have 2 weeks to ask any questions directly to Metro employees, to get more clarification if you want. That was brought up before, as an option to reduce the amount of time that we spend actually at a meeting or asking questions.
That's a good point. You know, I would encourage you guys to, once you get the packet, if there's something in there you need clarification on, you know, look at it as soon as you can, and then ask questions, call Christian or the department head, and try to get as many questions answered before the meeting. That doesn't mean you can't discuss them when you get there, but you might have a better sense of what's going on.
Well, and you have the discussions at the meeting, and then if you have further clarifying questions that you would like to ask, you can do that prior to the action
Right.
of that item.
And so there's action every meeting,
Yep.
because, you know, the discussion rolls over to the next meeting. So you're,
But we could take action on a discussion meeting.
You can.
They're, just to clarify, they're not specifically one's a discussion meeting, one's an action.
Right.
Both meetings
Correct.
contain discussion and action. It's rotating as we
I
go.
just want to state that for clarification.
So
And those presentations and the strategic discussions, all of that would be included in.
So if there was something like on here where if we were doing that, it's like, okay, we could turn this into an action item right now, opposed to turn this into an action item.
Could.
you can make a motion.
As long as as long as the staff are prepared to do so.
You're
Oh.
only, in most cases, we can be. The risk that is more the board's prerogative is that oftentimes there's an expectation that an item discussed will have time for public comment prior to it being acted on. So you might hear different organizations call it first, second, third readings and such. We do discussion action for that reason. It's not to say you can't, but there may be quite, like, especially if it's a volatile
Which is
item.
why I like discussions, and it helps slow things down, and it helps people digest that information a lot better than discussion, okay, now throw it in the action item. I do like that process better.
That's what we'll try.
Okay. And it sounds like if there were other trial options in the future, to review them and present them to the board, but for now, the next year's one schedule, which we'll bring Monday, is just the second and fourth Monday of each month.
Yes.
So I just want to clarify things. I can only give you opinion on things that I've experienced.
Right.
Okay? So to question any further than my own personal opinion is redundant. Okay? And I don't want to see that happen, because then it feels like I'm debating. I shouldn't have to debate my stance unless it's amongst these members right here. These 4 directors.
But there's always opportunity for clarification from what you are actually meaning in your questions. So, you know, Christian can ask a question for clarification. I don't want to shut him out of that.
Yeah.
He brings points, but I don't want to see you get fighting.
No,
Yeah,
I
he's
just want
he's-
to clarify that.
As someone who physically runs the operation, his opinion matters almost more than ours, in my opinion. So he should have every right to challenge and discuss any topic.
But I couldn't enlighten him any more than what I've already told him.
No, he's just trying to get clarifying information, that's all.
Okay.
Trying to make you think about it. That's all he's doing.
I didn't think about it before.
No, I do appreciate the comments. I do apologize. My intent was not to debate. It was just to clarify, so I apologize if it came across differently.
Okay, thank you, Christian. Moving on. Right, we're done with this?
Yeah, I think so.
I hope so.
Or do you want to keep going?
Oh, I'm good.
No, we're good.
Let's see, where are we? Introduction of new employees? No?
Nope. Oh my God, that was the beginning.
I'm just seeing if you're awake.
I'm awake. I don't remember what I'm doing, but I'm awake.
District land parcels, Sprouts Farmers Market, Mr. Matt Lund.
All right, let me close all this irrelevant stuff and make sure I got my head on straight. Good morning again, board. I guess we're almost to afternoon.
Discussion.
Matt Lund, Director of Business Administration, bringing before you for your consideration the sale of district property to Sprouts Farmers Market through their preferred partners. This has been in discussion in executive session, and we have the cleanest to-date contract that I provided to you. It's not in the packet for the public's awareness because it came in after that deadline.
Okay.
The board has it. It'll go into the public packet, presuming that we bring this to action for Monday evening. So you do have that in front of you. And I'll open up for questions about this deal. We've already had quite a bit of discussion around it.
Anybody have any?
On those reimbursements, I read that right before the meeting, but can you give an example of what that might?
Yeah, so the entities did come to us inquiring about reimbursement agreements, and these are not uncommon for districts that have the right to improve improvements around developments, where the developer may incur costs for the improvement of, for example, roadways is going to be the main thing we see here. And so to their point where they're the developer coming in, they will be more than likely required by the county as they go through that process to put those improvements in place. However, those improvements serve the greater public good than just their development. In such a case, we can enter into an agreement, and we do have a provision at the tail end of the contract that addresses that we are, as it is currently written, we commit to establish a reimbursement agreement with them prior to closing. So we don't have to have that set prior to execution, which we could do Monday night, and then we commit to work through with them what a reimbursement agreement would look like. There are examples out there in the world that we can take from and work through. For example, this development is most likely, well, it is going to require a sewer main extension, for example, but that sewer main extension is only going to serve their parcels. We would have the language crafted such that that's not for the public good. They would be going through a process and working most likely with our project development team to submit receipts, invoices of costs they've incurred that meet the criteria we establish that go beyond the needs of their development and into the public good.
And we can do that after?
Yes, we
we've
can do
already
that after. Yep.
Gotcha, okay.
And so, is it like, so they're paying for all these road improvements if a business locates in a lot next to them that benefits from those road improvements, they would be entitled to some sort of reimbursement for that? Is that what you're talking about?
You can do things that way. In this situation, the position of the parcels they're looking at, it's not likely that they're going to see anybody even able to take advantage of that.
Right,
because
it's all
they're
developed already, right? They're all the way around them.
There are some residential lots to the west. So it does depend a little bit on what the county wants to see from them. If the county wants to see Glenrose Drive extended to the north, so that's past Calle de Camellia as you're going Spalding eastbound, westbound. Yeah, and the parcels are to the west as well. If the county wants to see that road, then there's the potential that residential developers for those lots, if they purchase them from us, would be able to, or we would be able to place a lien on those, but we won't know until they go through all these processes with the county, their sketch plan review, so on.
Okay.
Is that something, are you aware of, is that something that like the city of Pueblo, when they develop attractive lots, they require the developer to pave the streets, put in this curb and gutter, sidewalks?
Yeah, it's common practice that any development.
Is there reimbursement? You know, if there's any reimbursement for any other entities that locate?
There are entities that have entire funds set aside so that they can just, it's sitting there waiting for people to claim it. We're not one of those entities due to our nature as a metropolitan district. We don't have a fund sitting there to give to them. So it's factored into when we consider the offer and the purchase price for the land. We're considering effectively that some of that may come back to them in a reimbursement for good that they do towards the public good.
Because I think we tried that with commercial developers. I think we still have an account that has money in it, right?
Yeah.
So
there are some situations where we have an escrow
escrow.
of funding, but this one is a little more focused if it became that at the very least, because that one is all across Spalding. I think there's a couple other roads too.
Okay. Okay.
And I do know we did discuss the name of the entity on the contract, and we did ask them if they could put Sprouts named there, but this is how they conduct business. So that was brought to them, and they said, no, it does need to be Iron Rock Development. That is our preferred partner in the 5 Southwest states. So that's why that's back on here. And the signability clauses address that it's not going to end up anywhere we don't expect without board notification and written consent. I think that's 30.3
So
potentially.
that's a change from the original packet that was sent out?
Yeah, 'cause
The original
it says-
information?
It is.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Because it still says Sprouts. You guys got any more?
Generating some conversation in the district. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yep. It went out pretty.
So, have we looked at their water usage projections?
So we
Just
have been in
curious.
touch with them about water, of course, and we've talked to them if, and depending on what action the board takes with the proposed that you just saw earlier, we would, if that was approved as is,
Right.
we would know exactly what number they have to use up to. We can
Right.
communicate to them. Then it's up to them if they want to say we're going to target coming in just under. Great. If they want to target going above, then we re-enter into the conversations we've had about additional water sources through whatever mechanism.
Okay. Yeah, that should benefit, I would think.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good idea.
And they're, at this point, they're comfortable with seeing how that shakes out, but signing this now.
Okay.
Matt, do we have provisions in place today? They do estimate lower water consumption than they actually use, and
Yeah.
and it becomes.
Yeah, if you approve their new rules and regs as written, yes. The contingency is, in this situation, there are 5 parcels involved. They're commercial. There's 1.68 available for each. That comes out to 8.4.
Oh, they should meet that, no problem.
Yeah, we think so. But, you know, they have their, they want to make sure. If they were to go over, and if you see, because they did include that flow chart that I made, there are different steps. If they go over a single year, then it was that provision that Jeffrey mentioned about charging 2 times the highest rate for their usage that year. If they go over 2 out of any 5-year period, we re-engage with discussions about them bringing us water resources.
Okay.
And that's going to go, if that's approved as is, that'll go for any commercial of duplex and greater
And above.
development. That exact process for everybody.
Cool.
Okay, awesome.
Great, that's great.
Thank you.
All right. Anybody else? No?
Okay.
Thanks, Matt.
I'll update
Thanks,
this
Matt.
for Monday night, and then I'll be back.
Thanks for working on this stuff.
Of course, thank you.
Next. Takes me a minute to click back, guys, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Don't feel bad, I lost my
Oh,
my
strategic.
screen.
Oh, we're just getting started. It's noon. Compensation ratio rubric and the merit-based pay system discussion. Do you want to start it out?
I can. I know, obviously, we've spent a lot of time in the board meeting today, but if it's okay, I can share because this was provided and just for everyone's awareness. We did a survey for the district. It was a request to see what the employees felt. There's about 100, I think, and 31 or 133 employees currently active in the district, and we got 109 responses on that. We did allow it to go until December 12th, which is next week, knowing that the holidays and we had some folks off to be able to hopefully capture everybody. But we did at least take what was there so far, and we have 109 responses, which is about, I think, 82% of the district so far, which is by far the highest survey we've ever done. So there is feedback. In that, we asked them several questions, which give me 1 second. I'll just share, and then we asked them an open-ended question because I think the intent of a lot of what the board had been talking about at the time was, hey, we'd like the employees' feedback all around on the current system. But knowing it was a survey going out, we asked a couple additional questions when it came to comparisons, merit-based, overall comments, because we know that any additional information might help. So the first question was, how do you feel about the current compensation ratio rubric or CRR model? Out of 109, 50 responded very positive. I believe it is fair and effective. 29 responded somewhat positive. It works well, but could be improved. 13 neutral. I have no strong opinion either way. And nine somewhat negative. I see areas of concern with the model. And 8 very negative. I believe it is unfair or ineffective. And that represents a. Actually, let me do it this way. A quick. I'll come back to that. The second one is how, if at all, would the district's choice between the current CRR pay system and a merit-based pay system affect your likelihood of staying with or leaving the organization? 50 or 46% said, I am much more likely to stay with the district under the CRR system. 12 or 11% said, I am somewhat more likely to stay with the district under the CRR system. 30 or 28% say, I am not likely to stay or leave the district based on either system. 10 or 9% said, I am somewhat more likely to stay with the district under a merit-based system. And 7 or 6%, I am much more likely to stay with the district under a merit-based system. So the high one, I'll point out the high ones. 50 was, I am much more likely to stay under the current system. Third question, to what extent do you believe obtaining job-related certification qualifications enhances your effectiveness in your role and your ability to serve the community? 71 or 65% said to a great extent. 23 or 21% said to some extent. 11 or 10% said to a limited extent. And 4 or 4% said not at all. Question 4 was, which compensation model would you most support moving forward? 64 or 59% said current model compensation ratio rubric. 6 or 6% said a new model, merit-based only. And 38 or 35% said new model, hybrid rubric, merit combining CRR system with merit-based elements. And then, the last question we asked for multiple choice, to what extent do you believe a merit-based pay system would influence employee morale and perception of fairness in recognizing individual contributions? 17 or 16% said very positively, significantly improves morale and perceived fairness. 17 or 16% said somewhat positively. 9 or 8% said no impact. 18 or 17% says somewhat negatively. And 48 or 44% was very negatively, significantly decreased morale and perceived fairness. The last question was a open-ended, hey, is there any additional information you would like to share with the board of directors? A copy of that was sent to all the board members, including these results, so they do have those. There are themes on both positive and the negative side of it. I don't want to belabor, but generally you do see a lot of positive comments towards the current system. It is the majority. You do see a not insignificant part of the comments and the feedback saying that merit-based being included may have some merit, pun intended, where there is that openness to having that. There are specific comments that I think are very valuable. One of them is there's somebody, and these are completely anonymous, but there's somebody who described that they have somebody above them and below them who have much easier access to training or ability to train. They themselves might not, and they kind of indicate it might be a workload issue. And so they may find favor towards, hey, I can't take time to go train, but if I was doing really well, it'd be great to have merit-based to reward me for doing that when I can't go train. I think it does identify a weakness or vulnerability of the current system, because while it is an objective and more fair system, it identifies that the person's specific situation may make it harder or easier to be able to utilize that system. And so I thought it was a very valid comment. I wanted to point that out. But you are seeing those trends, and I just wanted to share. So happy to discuss, share any information or answer any questions when we get into this discussion. But I do want to share, because I think some of the comments, and I heard a little feedback, feel like they're assessing pretty negatively what the last conversation about this was. And I do want to share that I think that has some merit or understanding from where people felt that way. The conversation we had about the compensation ratio rubric at the time of the budget, which I think it's a fair point why it came up when we're talking about the overall budget and the salaries, but it did come across with a tone of the potential to completely eliminate the CRR or extensively modify it. And there were comments made that might have evaluated this person being, they're certified, but they might not be good at their job. They might not be performing at a way. There might be people who work over here in the fire department versus administration. Those comments were heard by staff, and they have echoed in the conversation we've had here. So I think that what you're seeing in there is a sentiment that's felt. You may feel as the full board or individual board members that wasn't your intent. And so I just encourage having a conversation and dialogue and discussing it in a way that hopefully respects all that can help go a long way in maybe addressing where that perception came from. So that's all I wanted to offer. Happy. The only other thing that we added was exit interviews. We did 2023, 2024, 2025. The key thing to point out there is you are seeing compensation has been completely eliminated for why people are leaving. So has company culture. That's not to say those two are always tied together. There may be correlation, there may not. The thing that's causing people to leave the district in 2025 is involuntary separation. We are now, perspective that I have, in a situation where it is much easier to evaluate people and say you are performing to the standards we expect. And if you're not being stuck in a position where because of how you compensate that person, you may not find their quality or anybody to fill that position in the back. This is an opinion. Not saying that this is substantiated, but the perspective we've had where we've actually addressed performance has gone up in the amount of times we've done it. And a lot of that has come with confidence of the person who replaces them is much more higher quality or has characteristics and things that are much easier for the district to benefit from. That's just perspective from us. Now I'll stop. Go ahead.
In regards to your pie chart on 2023, 2024, and 2025, and all the anonymous comments and everything else, I read every one of them. Very informational. Was it 2025 that had the larger portion of people that were let go?
Yes, it's about 70-some%. I'll pull it up in a second.
I'm just going off of memory.
No, it's about the same.
That's fine. I think I'm spot on.
Are you talking about the overall separations?
Oh, he's talking about specifically involuntary let go.
Involuntary, yes.
Or I assume, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Let me pull up real quick.
They were let go.
72% for 2025.
72.
Yeah. Versus 41 and then 32.
Yeah, so I'll just go rather quickly.
I think it's mostly separated or retired, I believe.
Yeah, so
the biggest.
look, a quick breakdown. There were 23 separations, voluntary or involuntary, in 2023. It was 32% involuntary, 24% were compensation, 16% company culture, 12% family circumstances, 16% career advancement opportunity. In 2024, it went from 23 separations total to 17. And then you see 12% retirement, 6% compensation, so it's coming down, 18% family circumstances, which went slightly up, 23% career advancement opportunity, slightly up, and terminated involuntary 41%, which is a significant increase. And in 2025, it was 19 separations thus far, 11% family circumstances, which is about average. Career advancement opportunity went down to 6%. Retirement, same about from the year prior, 11%, and terminated involuntary was 72%. That went up high.
Okay, so looking at the pie charts, first thing that came to mind to me is that, okay, how many people chose to leave or either got fired, okay? Left with PTO paid in advance. And I would like to see that amount of PTO dollar-wise per individual, because salaries were different probably for each of those positions, right? That they walked away with, because it's prepaid.
Just to share, we prorate in 2025. So if they got terminated, we issue out their PTO at the beginning of the year, January. But if they were terminated in February, they only get 2 out of those 12 months. I think that was 2025 we instituted it. It might have been 2024.
So it's prorated quarterly?
Monthly.
Monthly?
Yes.
When did you institute the rubric? CR?
2025. So I will share 2024. I stepped into the position as the interim district manager in 2023, and most of my conversations were around potential unfair pay practices or perceptions called by employees. As we evaluated it, we did do adjustments late 2023 and into 2024, but the CR rubric was not in place until 2025. We did model a little bit of how we adjusted. For instance, it's not any specific person or position, but if Parks maintenance staff, I guess slightly specific positions, but just as an example, if we found that their pay scales were wrong or incorrect, or there's a challenge where some of them coming in new were making more than some who have been there, we made minor adjustments to correct issues that we found during the 2023 and 2024 year. But it was based on the progenitor of the rubric. The rubric wasn't official until 2025.
So how many pay raises were completed in 2025 because of the rubric?
I can get that information because I think it would have been, everybody got their pay adjusted if they qualified for it. So if there was 100.
0.96.
What's that?
To the 0.96.
Essentially, on average, that was the average. So 2024, we did the analysis of all 140 employees. We said these 100 will have a pay change, these 40, they actually are making more than the rubric. We didn't end up adjusting those. And then March 1st, I believe, is when we effectively did the personnel action forms, which would have done those. I will share that for anybody that we corrected prior to 2025, they didn't have a change. So, for instance, if I'm the Public Works Director and I had that personnel issue and that pay issue in 2024 and got corrected, didn't translate into any change in 2025 because we already used the rubric to change it. Or the philosophy of the rubric.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I was under the impression that it was stated previously that PTO is paid up front.
It's
wasn't the
issued
past.
out front.
Okay, but no one ever explained how it's broken down.
Gotcha. Happy to. It is
I think you were
programmed.
under the same assumption, right? The PTO was paid up front?
Yeah, I was under the impression it's paid up front, yeah.
It's issued up front, but they don't get it till they claim it, right?
Correct.
So it's earned? It's earned-
Yeah, I would
basically
say.
earned PTO.
Yeah, I would say that you earn it, you're coming in, you're allotted 140 hours, just a rough number, and you're able to take it, you're planning it, your manager's obviously approving it. If you are terminated or separated for any reason.
You get to keep what
prorate.
you earned up to that point.
Up to that point, yes.
Man, we were totally off base. Thanks for clarifying that.
Of course.
So I had asked over email for the employee breakdown of the departments, which you should have just said, "Hey, man, look at the back of your budget."
I tried to be nice.
Next time, just that's fine. You don't have to go through all your words. So I asked for that, and you gave me that. Thank you. And then my follow-up question was, I kind of want to get an idea of how many of these certifications. I'm not sure the difference between certification and qualifications, so I'm
Sure.
just going to stick with certification. But how many of the certifications are available to each department? Because I'm kind of thinking there's probably a point where there's some departments that have a much higher opportunity to obtain certificates than other departments. And weighing it all 25, 25, 25, 25 across the board as a whole district could be exposing certain departments to not have as great opportunity maybe.
Yeah.
And so perhaps as this goes forward, looking at those departments and then putting a rubric and changing those percentages to the certain departments. If that
I see
makes
what you're
sense.
saying. Yes, I think it's a fair criticism or challenge with this rubric system that not every position is created equal. The fire department and the fire captains, firefighters, they have an entire International Firefighter Association. They have the Colorado State. They're the easiest ones to do because there's already almost national and state systems that help create certification for them to show that they're progressing and doing that. So building theirs was very easy. Conversely, a economic support specialist, that might be a much more specialized and unique one that has, you have to go out. And maybe it does have things like having a realtor's license or having something that helps you show that you have experience or certification associated with it, but it may not. Each of I'll share like the plant operators in the utilities department are one of our notorious ones where it's trying to balance what is valuable for a certification for their position when they already have a certification track for them to advance. So they take water treatment A to B, C, D, it actually goes the other way, D, C, B, A. That's part of their promotions, so it's kind of hard to utilize that also as a certification. Should they be able to get collection and distribution, they're almost their peers to be able to count for certification. So to your point, just as examples, there are places where departments aren't exactly equal because the positions within that department may not be exactly equal or have as easy of a system to back it. The only thing I wanted to share is that the difference between certification and qualifications. Certifications are typically 80 plus hours of coursework or a large test exam, regionally or higher recognized, something that's going to say, hey, you have something that ends at 3 letters at the end of your last name, or you're able to now do water treatment at a higher level for a higher plan. It's much more sophisticated and professional when it comes to that certification. Qualifications are typically at least 8-hour courses that say, hey, these are things that are definitely tied to your job, but they help benefit for it. They may be locally, like we've had local transition assistance program, things that help support that. certifications, and it may not be an equal way, but the way it currently tracks is they're worth double the amount of qualifications are.
What cross development opportunities do you have for somebody who wants to move up?
Great question. So to the point of there, also sometimes we see the certifications, qualifications are part of what you would see expected in their next job. So this isn't gonna be a perfect example, but if a fire captain requires a chief officer course, a firefighter having that as their certification means that they have something that helps them and they get rewarded for it, because that means they're much more successful in taking that position if that one were to open, kind of training internal. The ones where we struggle sometimes is that plant operator in C&D example. Plant operator is not likely going to become a C&D operator, but a plant operator with a CDL or with a C&D, that does allow flexibility of the district for having that person be able to do that type of work. So there are examples where we do have that. It's not comprehensive and holistic, because at the same time, we don't necessarily want to pay somebody for something that they're not reasonably going to be able to use. So we try to balance that.
Thank you.
So, you've already spoken.
I've said my piece, man. I can reiterate if you
want
like.
to read it again? So, I've thought a lot about this. I've spent a lot of time talking to Christian about it. I appreciate I know that the district was in an unequal state with employees with pay before you got here. We all want to see, or at least I think we all want to see employees paid, well for the position. What you're always going to find from me is that I always balance the public sector against the private sector. So that's why I think we can do I'm not in favor totally of a merit-based system, but I think there's a hybrid that can be instituted. I know some of the comments were it could be too biased. A merit-based system is too preferential treatment, but you also have some of that instilled into this program to some degree, where directors think that the certificate is not necessary for that job performance, and one director will give a more lenient perspective on certifications. So I think you have preferential treatment in just about any place that you have people. It's kind of our downfall. So I think with the hybrid system, you can try to incorporate some way, and I haven't figured it out. That's something we can talk about, but some way to really acknowledge the people that do go above and beyond, even with their certifications, or I think one of the comments was, I'm carrying the load for these guys while they're getting certificates. That person is valuable, and they should be recognized in some form or fashion. So I think a merit-based system doesn't have to be bad. It can be good. You have to have good people. Your directors have to be trained well and know how to recognize that. I have problems also with employees being able to, and I realize that there's discretion with the directors, but they pretty much can directly impact their salaries simply by getting certifications. Do we require performance after the certification, or are we, in some instances, are they getting certifications that may enhance their abilities to perform their job, or it might be a good thing to have? So that is also preferential. So I think there's ways to work all this out. But in the long run, as elected officials, or as me as an elected official, I want to make sure that our public sector isn't necessarily outpacing the private sector. And I'm not an ogre about paying. I'm an ogre about watching taxpayers' money and how well it's spent and what we can get for it. So that's always going to be something that I look at. I think you said that and correct me if I'm wrong, the certification and job, what's the other thing?
Qualifications?
Qualifications. Can impact their salary 25%?
So
If
the
they do it
example
all?
I used was somebody at the minimum making 0.80 of the mid. If somebody went out and they did all their certifications, all the qualifications, meaning they maxed those two areas, 10-point seats, that goes from 0.8 to a 1.00, the mid-range, which is a 25% difference in effect. The thing, if it's okay to share, the part of that is it's not as instantaneous as that if those certifications are at least 80 hours and that the qualifications are at least 8 hours, that's 10 for qualifications, 80 hours, and 5 for certifications, 400 hours. No, that's
No,
math. 400. 200.
I thought it was 200.
5 times 8. 400?
That's 400.
There we go. 400 plus the 80, that's 480 hours, almost 500 hours of work that they're doing. It's not an instantaneous thing for them to do. To your point, yes, it is giving them the power to say, based on my department head, this position, I can go out for these things, I'm gonna go get them, and they have the control over that. And we do typically on the next pay period address as long as they've pushed it, submitted it.
There was a comment about the whole 80-hour requirement not being equitable either, based on the...
I think I remember the comment, it was, and maybe, let me know if I got this right, there was comments about there was changing of the hour requirements as we went. Was that it?
I don't recall what that specific one was.
If there was a general comment of 80 hours may be equitable with other positions, it's not a stringent 80-hour requirement always.
Because some certifications don't require 80 hours.
Correct. So the water certifications, if we use that as an example, like they're not necessarily going to a course for 80 hours. They probably have thousands of hours or hundreds of hours of, I need to be able to do this to take a 4-hour test. That might account for a certification, so that might qualify in that. But the idea of the 80-hour is to make sure that somebody who goes for a 40-hour course who thinks that's going to count as a certification understands it's not going to. It has to meet that threshold or be evaluated by the department head as, yes, this is obviously a certification. The chief officer...
or do 2 40-hour certifications
potentially.
equate to 80 hours?
I don't think we have any examples of certifications working that way. We have for qualifications. For instance, if we want somebody to be proficient in all of Microsoft Office and be able to do that as an administrative assistant or a district clerk, you may only see 2-hour courses offered for that are above basic. Being able to combine 4 of those into an 8-hour would meet one qualification.
And that would also be included in the job description as far as the qualification goes. So if you hire somebody with that qualification, they're at the, more or less, just generally speaking, they're at the mid-range.
So if it's in their job description as minimally required, that does not count for their job. Whether it's education, certification, or qualification, that's their minimum requirement, does not count for anything. Anybody who meets minimum requirements makes minimum of their salary range.
So I think we had touched on this too, hiring people that already have the qualifications. Do we target for that?
So-
as opposed to hiring people that we're gonna train? And,
So,
and
yeah.
by the way, we also sometimes, if I understand correctly, we pay for that training.
Yes, all true.
So we're paying for the training and then we're giving them a pay increase.
Not if it's required for their job. So we talked through 2 examples, the firefighter and C&D. We have talking about like, why don't we just hire a firefighter? Why do they have to go through the academy, become trained as an EMS and be able to do that? A lot of times because the firefighter who's applying for jobs, a lot of times firefighters I don't think move around too much. They often want to stay within a specific department or organization, but when they do, they're going to apply for wherever their skill set probably makes them the most, that's within their skill. We have not attracted that firefighter historically. Right. We've attracted somebody who's looking to get into firefighting or starting out, and so we take them through academy, be able to address those things, or maybe they're a paramedic, they have half of the experience and they go through and be able to advance their skill set. That one doesn't really have to do with certification or anything, just talking about why do we struggle sometimes hiring the person who already has a certification versus a trainee. It's usually just pay. It can become a challenge to get somebody who is there.
We're getting close to that though,
Getting
right?
close to that, and this system allows for somebody who now recognizes that to say, oh, they're looking at our total min range, let's say it's 80 to 120,000, it's not a firefighter, but 80 to 120,000, like, I know the district only offered 80,000 in the past, regardless of my cert, so I'm not applying there. Now they might know, well, I'm actually more qualified, I have more certs, I might come in at 90,000, and they may apply for it. And we're starting to see more qualified individuals apply, not specifically for fire, but other departments. your second part about the trainee, so collection and distribution, you'll see in our, fair enough. Collections and distribution, in our budget, you'll see that there's authorized positions, and I think it's about 14 authorized collection and distribution operators. There's an operator level 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's the trainee version. If you notice in the budget, that trainee doesn't have a full range like everybody else does. It's about, the first operator is, let's say, 53,000 to 80,000, that's their full range, but the trainee is 50,000 to 53,000. We don't have authorized positions for trainees. We recognize sometimes we can't attract that person who already has their CDL and their collection or distribution certification. So we're willing to bring somebody in at a lower pay or at the base scale, just slightly below what the minimum of that level 1 is, and say, we're gonna train you and get you your CDL, and that often costs the district money to be able to do, and get you trained and established and you certify. And as soon as you meet those minimums, you just become the base level of the C&D operator 1. So you're not getting more money necessarily, you're actually at a lower pay scale, stepping into your actual pay scale.
But they did realize the benefit of the
Yes,
training.
they have the CDL now, which can be $8,000 to $10,000 sometimes for us to be able to train somebody towards. What was happening historically was that we would have that person come get their CDL, and we do have things in our kit to try and make sure that if somebody leaves the district after getting training, that we collect back, but there are laws on that. We can't take more than what would leave them at minimum wage, for instance. Which means if they, whether PTO is prorated or not, if they don't have the PTO to be able to take, or if they've earned it because it's part of that and their pay is this, that $8,000 CDL, we might get $500 or $2,000 back on. We've still spent that money. So we recognized we were the training ground essentially for the rest of the region. The system has helped at least with ensuring that the person who sees that knows that they have two options. Yeah, maybe they'll take another job for a 10% increase somewhere else and we're still the training ground. Or they can apply themselves to be able to increase their pay here without having to leave. And that seems to have helped.
So there's no minimum requirements for them to stay after they've been paid?
There's usually a year or 2 years for it, and there's
it just doesn't,
but you can't take more than what leaves them at minimum, and that's, I believe, state law.
That's
I can double
law?
check.
That's ridiculous.
Unfortunately, I have no control on that one.
No, I understand that. I'm just saying
Yeah. And tuition assistance has slightly different rules of how that works, but I think it has the same challenges.
So I know this is just discussion, but what are you wanting from us today?
So if I could make a recommendation, hearing our own employees' feedback and hearing feedback from the board, is just a little bit of guidance in the sense of like how we move forward, but also just an opportunity to probably propose and recommend that this old system took time to develop. It wasn't an overnight. It's been since 2021 that like the impetus of it came forward. It was really realized 2023, 2024. I think there's an opportunity to evaluate what merit-based could look like included or alongside of it. The question is, does it take over parts of it? Do we reduce of it? Like how that looks. We'd love time to be able to evaluate and continue collecting data and information on the existing system, because in full honesty, being able to like look into this, we forced ourselves to audit and make sure that things look good and there were issues, and we found like, okay, this person who put this in, they signed their name on it, this person's missing their name, like we need to double check and make sure that everything that's going in is good when it comes to it. And then for the people who said, they recognize that there's departmental discrepancies potential, like we want to look into those things further. We recognize this system isn't perfect, but it has addressed and has a lot of merit for the things that I think we're all looking for. And it's just a question of, if we're looking for merit, how do we incorporate, or what elements do we incorporate for it? So just giving maybe guidance today, say, hey, we would like you to move forward with the next 3 to 6 months, and I know that's a longer time, but I'll explain why. Evaluate the current system to see if we have things that address challenges we saw in the survey, and start proposing and developing options for consideration in the 2027 budget that might migrate towards a merit-based system. That would be pretty good, I think, guidance.
Please refer to it as a hybrid system.
Hybrid system, right now.
Because you said it, they hear merit, and it's like...
Fair.
Yeah. So I lost access to the forms when the whole email went down. So, but within the CRR, there's 4 categories.
Yes.
4 scalable categories. Didn't we talk about doing something within the qualifications? So you're basically watering down, so to speak, the performance evaluation to be within the qualifications segment of the CRR.
I think you and I might have talked a little bit about it. I was doing a quick proposal of some, as an example we could look at, is watered down qualifications. It's 4 sets of 10 to make that full 40 points between 0.80 and 1.20. The 2 more likely areas that you look in this rubric that have challenges is education experience and qualifications. If one of those were looked at as recognizing, hey, there's a little bit of controversy or there's challenges with it, if you took a portion of that and reduced it, or you changed it out for what could be the performance-based hybrid system, that is what I was initially proposing as something we could consider and evaluate. I don't have feedback on what that looks like, and we haven't really dived into it, but that's an example.
Okay.
How many bullet comments are there that you can select from for each category?
I don't think I understand. Bullet comments for each category of
scoreable.
Yeah, to get you from 1 to 5.
So, without going too technical, the education experience is a 2-part evaluation of what your education level is compared to the job requirements, and then how much experience you have above what the job requirements are. Certifications, you can get 5 certifications because they're worth 2 points each. Some positions, as I'll very openly share, they might have like a set of, hey, here's 10 certifications for fire we've all identified in work. And others are like, we could only find 5, and they're challenging to find because it's a more unique position. Qualifications is 10, they count for 1 point. So again, there'd be 10 that they'd get. Longevity is counted every 2 years. So every 2 years they get an additional point up to 20.
That was a question I had. So I understand qualifications and certificates for water plant operators and wastewater people, firemen.
Mm-hmm.
But are you having to dream up qualifications and certifications for other departments in order to try to keep this fair? And I'm saying that because that's where the hybrid has to, I think, compensate for that. Because if you're just making up things for people to jump through a hoop to get a raise, I'm not thrilled about that.
That's fair. I'll share. Nobody is making things up to jump through. They're usually coming from a third party of there is somebody recognizing. I'll share like an honest one. Finance department was a challenge because there are CGFOA and GFOA, which. Are you nodding behind me?
She's holding up cards for me.
is a good example of, and I'm happy if Karen has thoughts if she wants to share. Karen's perspective, and it makes sense for parts of it, because the idea of like some of it is training and experience that we're expecting staff to become proficient in and be able to do their jobs. It's not actually in the job description. If you look at an accountant or if you look at a finance tech or accounting technician, it may be required that they know this, but they don't have the certification or qualifications specific to Colorado, for instance. In some cases for departments, we've had to look pretty deep to figure out what it is as an entity that helps support something that we're seeing much more easily on the fire department. And so to your point, that's why I think qualifications is one of the more controversial ones, because it is looser when it comes to that. But it's not a wish list. It's not a situation of we're making those up ourselves or making up that this one values. There is a third party we're identifying provides something that a department head has then gone back and looked at and said, yes, that is more valuable for that department employee, that position to actually have.
And it really enhances their performance?
Yes.
Not just a certification?
So not just a certification for the sense of like getting the certificate. I think where we run into some challenges is there is subjectivity. I'll use an example, the CPR class, a basic lifesavers course. It's like that's a valuable thing for probably anybody to have. Mm-hmm. Should every position have that as something that counts towards their pay or not? And I think in the district it doesn't, because there are situations where it's like we recognize that person who is there. For instance, mine would not have that. Some of the department heads do not have something like that. Mm-hmm. That's where the subjectivity can come. And I know we've talked about where is the subjectivity in this system. It's really with the department heads. They're identifying those things. The benefit of it is that the challenge of it is that creates inconsistency among departments, which is where we get the subjectivity, but it's not creating it within that department. There's not one firefighter who is going forward getting something that another firefighter doesn't have that same value if they get it.
Right, I can see that from department to department, but I don't think that you can create an equitable system-wide, because there are some positions that just are, they're the position that we're willing to pay this much for Could there be a graduated scale for pay that, based on performance evaluations, and, you know, automatic pay increases to some degree? But I don't think you can make a fair system amongst all the departments, you know, finance, admin.
So it sounds like the qualification piece of the CRR is what's under debate. So maybe that's where we introduce the hybrid piece of the performance evaluation to make it qualitative. So you water down the certifications that are included in the qualifications, is that correct? Did I get that right?
Those are two separate.
Two separate, okay.
Yeah. So it would, essentially, the certifications are their own line. They're the 80-hour plus courses.
Right, right,
Qualifications is the one where we find the most challenge.
That's what I didn't have. I didn't have the 4 different categories. So I think, and that's what you and I talked about after the last meeting, is included in the qualifications piece.
If you ask me, a gun to my head, hopefully that's not too bad to say, to change something today, that is probably where I would start first looking. There is concern about that because obviously to the employee's perspective, especially if it's one that feels like that to the great extent has an impact on their job, that's where they have the most flexibility. So recognizing like what that system looks like and how it does.
So at this point, and I'm trying to wrap this up. So at this point, it's really up to you and your team to figure out exactly where you want to plug in the performance evaluation piece.
Yes, I would like
to make it a hybrid system.
Guidance and feedback to say we support you to be able to move forward and evaluate and come back with options and be able to do that.
But I think you realize where the trouble areas might be
Yes.
and the inconsistencies and the things that we need to tweak in order to make it equitable and fair for all involved. So now it's just up to you to do it.
Yeah, I'm happy for that.
Or you and your team, I should say.
I think we've only had 1 year of its impact or its introduction. We're going to have 1 year of data, being able to evaluate it, being able to move forward and do that. That's going to be something we were probably going to do anyways, but having the guidance of like, we would like to see a merit base to be a potential proposal of how that could be included from the board is essentially what I would do.
Essentially creating a hybrid format.
Yeah.
Get away from merit based. Praise the Lord. So, and then just to restate what I said during my director's comments, we're not looking to remove any pay raise possibility or potential for any employee with this upcoming budget year. So when we looked at approving the budget and using the 2025 payroll expense figures, that still should open up plenty of money. And I just used 150 employees for the district, which we have less than that, or fewer than that. If you used 150 employees over the $2.4 million that remained from what was budgeted in 2025 and what was actually utilized, that's over $16,000 per employee that can go towards salaries and benefits and taxes. So realizing that we had some openings, realizing also that we will always probably have some openings throughout the year, that should still equate to pay raises for staff utilizing the CRR moving forward.
So we'll stay with the 25 figures.
That's what we had talked about last.
With the adjustment of COLA and everything. Just to share now, no bad news gets better with time. There were challenges with doing that. We were able to do some more forms of that, but if you think about it, that 2025 budget came with people who were in positions at that time who may no longer be in those positions. So just from a system process, there was a challenge with it, but we did our best.
I'm sure you had to figure out different departments too, at different amount adjustments, et cetera, et cetera. I'm sure that was the case.
Carrying through multiple flip-flops, haven't you?
All right.
So the one last thing I'd like is, can you give us a projection? And I know it would be hard because you don't know who's going to apply for qualification or certification. What is going to be the payroll impact maybe for the next 5 years? And what the increase in salaries to employees are going to be for the next 5 years? Because where I'm coming from is, you know, I'm okay with people making a good living, but I think it should be commensurate with the people that are paying the bills, which are the taxpayers. If we're going to be way over what the average Joe on the street is, I think that's something for us to be concerned with, because whatever goes to salaries is usually not reversible, and takes that much more out of services, what the district can provide. And I'm not saying we shouldn't pay our employees what they're worth, but I think we need to just keep a watch on how it's going to project. And
Yeah.
I mean, we had an example tonight, tonight, it's gonna be tonight. CCOM, their average employee was making $42,000. That was 5 years ago, but I doubt that they increased their pay $1,000 a year for 5 years. So, you know, I think our employees are getting up there in a very comfortable pay range for the most part. And the other thing that I know people cringe when you hear it is that we're on a finite budget. The district has so much money. You know, what do we bring in? $14 million on the general side. It's for the general fund. We gotta make that stretch, and we gotta pay a lot of salaries to do that. And I'm not saying that is out of hand yet, but I think we need to keep an eye on it.
Yeah, I think to your point, we can project why I think it hadn't been, obviously this is the first year of the CR rubric, evaluating it, being able to see what was that pay change. Like obviously we had an initial implementation, but seeing that over this next year will help us project a little bit better, and I think we could do that.
So you're basically saying that our Metro District salaries should be outpacing the salaries of our taxpayers?
That's kind of what I say. Yeah.
Is it okay, Stefan?
Yep.
Sure, comment?
Really brief.
Yep.
All right, thank you guys for the opportunity. Matt Lund, Director of Business Administration. 2 points I want to make clear and make sure they go in the public record. I think this is worth putting my neck out for. First of all, the CCOM was a minimum of that number, just to make sure that's entered in correctly. So we don't know what every position that they added was. It may have been much greater. The other point was, and Christian probably didn't think to say this because he's looking at it from top down, but just so everybody's clear, we recognize the issues with qualifications. That's probably going to be an area that Christian and his team looks at. Directors did not have carte blanche to put in whatever they wanted. Everything we did, we ran through Katrina, Brian Egging, or Christian. So there was oversight to that to attempt to address any equity between those. But because the public's listening, I want to make sure they know that was not just, I'm going to make it easy for my guys and it's going to be harder over here. There was oversight into that whole process, and it was lengthy and it was difficult, and we put a lot of hours into it, which is I think where some of the comments, I know mine addressed this. You get a prize if you can pick me out. But some of the comments are, we've put a lot into this and we haven't even seen a full year of it yet. So I don't think that warrants any discussion because we are trying to wrap up. And but I did want to enter those 2 items. CCOM was a minimum of 42,500, whatever, and the qualifications did have oversight, and it took us a long time to figure it out. Okay.
Okay. Appreciate it.
Thank you guys.
I was going to add a quick, this Google, so qualify it as you want. It's about 60 to 65 for an average CCOM technician.
Oh, okay.
Google.
Google. Go knock on their door down here. They're using New York City and Los Angeles.
Oh, that's fair.
So the certifications are coming from different third-party associations or what have you? And then the department head has to approve those
the only
specific certifications.
Yeah, the only other thing I'll share, and it's on the rubric as you look at it, qualification very much picked by department head. There is a making sure the district in that position at the first onset had its view and oversight and supervision, as Matt said, to make sure it made sense and it qualified for position. When it comes to substitution, so if somebody says, hey, here's your list of 10 qualifications you can give, but I found this one, I think it works, department head can have discretion to be able to make it a qualification. The district manager has it for the certification, so it has to come all the way up to me. And it's always a third party. There aren't, I'm gonna double check that. But to my knowledge, there are no like internal processes currently that create a qualification or certification. The only one I can think of is we do confined space training, and I think that might be with a third party and ourselves. And then the CPS, the BLS, the CPR one, we have people who are qualified to do it. Yes, it is an internal employee doing it, but it's a third party. It's whether it's American Cross or somebody else that's actually certifying that.
Yeah, my thing is probably more on the certifications. I mean, I can just imagine, and I know this was me in the military just clicking through on certain certifications.
The online training?
Online training things. I just, you know,
So-
that's my
Yeah,
shtick.
I don't blame you because I did the same thing. In those, like, a lot of those are 1 hour courses, so even if it was something like that, they're gonna have to come up with a collection of 8 hours to make that qualification minimum even. But I don't think that that's the majority of, that's definitely not certifications, it might just be the qualification area.
Okay.
Keep in mind that there are a lot of private sector jobs too that have continuing education
Mhm.
that is not paid for by anybody but themselves. They have to do it to keep up with their job and maintain their job. So.
Yeah, it's true. Okay, I think I have guidance, so I'm good on my end and appreciate the board's conversation and discussion on it.
All right, thank you for your work and all of this. Appreciate it. Closing comment, public comments, any?
There are no public comments.
Board member? I got none. Christian?
I'm good.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second that motion.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.